Just a little bit about Little Manila Rising. If you're not familiar with Little Manila Rising, I just wanted to highlight a few points about it and also our youth advocates. So Little Manila Rising is a nonprofit dedicated to serving the South Stockton community and was founded in 2000 by Dr. Don Mabalin and Dylan Delvo. And so it initially started as a historic preservation organization to preserve the last remaining buildings of Little Manila here in Stockton, but is now doing work within the environmental justice and as well as health equity via the Dawn program and mental health with the Healing Puso program. So a lot of great work going on at Little Manila. And another great highlight about Little Manila Rising is that it is youth-focused and youth-led. As you'll see here today, this whole conference was planned and is going to be run by youth advocates of this year. So super exciting to see their work. And these are all youth from Stockton and from the Valley. And so we're really excited to have this community here. And lastly, Little Manila Rising is focused on social justice and integrating diversity into all aspects of this organization. So really thankful for all the work that's going on. And thank you. And we'll move along to the event.
Yeah, thank you for that, Marissa. It's very important to learn more about Little Manila. So I hope there's some of you out there who maybe didn't know anything at all, and then that was maybe some of the first information you were gathering. That's really cool to hear. So speaking of thank yous, we just want to go over a little event overview of what's to come in the future for this event. We're going to start off with some thank yous that we have. There's many people who have helped fund it and helped our Youth Advocates program, and we just have a lot of thank yous to give out. So we want to thank Reinventing Stockton Foundation. We want to thank Yo California. We want to thank the California Strategic Growth Council and also the California Department of Conservation. We want to thank Sierra Health Foundation. We want to thank the Community Medical Center. We want to thank all the conference planning committee, all the youth advocates here today who have helped make this event possible. We've been working on it for months. So especially thank you to the youth advocates out there. And also, last but not least, the board of directors who have helped so much throughout this. So thank you to all of those people.
And another thank you to all of the people not listed, all the organizations that do support Little Manila Rising. We cannot do what we do without your help, so thank you as well, even though you're not on here. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Excuse us 1 second.
Yes, so we're going to be going into our community agreements.
Yes, so we are all united together, obviously, and we want to learn a little bit of trust with each other. So we just have some agreements that we want to go over. So the first one is to be curious, open, and respectful, throw sunshine and not shade. Our second one is to take space and make space, so speak freely and allow others to do the same. Our third one is no one knows everything, together we know a lot, so please be respectful to all the speakers here today, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask, but be respectful. So our fourth one is what's said here stays here, what's learned here leaves here, and I feel like that one's pretty self-explanatory. Next, we have honor your needs, so again, anything that is a concern or you have a question, never be afraid to ask. Our next one is to be community-driven and of the people. Our next one is to be presence. We all want you here. We all want you gaining this information and soaking it all in. So be here, be present. And the last one, of course, is to have fun, because this is what this event is about, to have fun and make sure you're having the best time as possible. So have fun today, guys.
Thank you, Devon. And yes, just one more thing before we begin as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining this this annual conference. This is the third annual Youth Advocacy Conference, and so thank you for taking the time out of your day to support all of our youth advocates, support Little Manila Rising, and to be here with us and hear what we have to say. So thank you. So we hope you enjoy your time, and we will go on to our next
You won't be disappointed at all.
So we just want to explain a little bit about our title of this event. We, as youth advocates, decided to name this year's conference Redefining Stockton Through Healing and Storytelling. Each one of us has a unique background and has their own stories that make us who we are. And so whether that's healing from stuff in our past, it's important to acknowledge that and reflect on our past while also looking into a future that is bright and full of opportunity. And so that's kind of the reasoning behind our title. And it's also kind of an saying that, you know, we are all unique because of those experiences, and definitely bringing in that diversity. So everyone's voice is meant to be heard. And so, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for that, Marissa. Yeah, it's always important to know the purpose of what, you know, you're here for today. But now we're going to start off with our first giveaway of 3. We have this amazing t-shirts that I'm ready to present to you guys, donated from Little Manila. So we want to give a big thank you to the donors. Can't wait to give this shirt away to someone. So what we exactly need that shirt. So we're going to pass it off to our good friend Genevieve, who you heard today, and she's going to get into how to win that prize.
Yes, thank you, Genevieve. And then I will pass it off. Zian
So close.
Martinez. Are you here? Yay!
Oh,
she
Zian is
was!
here.
Congratulations. We are so excited.
Congratulations. Sorry if we messed up on the pronunciation of your name, but we have your shirt here, so make sure to put your contact information in the chat box, and we will reach you after this event so you can get this amazing shirt. I'm so glad you won it.
Woo, yay.
Yes.
And then we can show it one more time
Yes,
as
let's
well.
show us.
see.
Show you your shirts.
Yay.
Beautiful shirts. Yes. So congratulations again. The back of it right here as well.
It's a beautiful shirt.
Cannot wait
Yay. Okay.
get the shirt
so
for you.
Congratulations. And let me check.
And thank you, Genevieve, for spinning the wheel.
Yes, thank you, Genevieve. Thank you so much.
Yes, congratulations. Okay, so now I'm going to pass it off to
Yes,
Marissa.
thank
and
you
she's
so
going to
much.
introduce some workshops for us today.
Yes, so looks like we have come upon our first workshop of the day, which is entitled, What Does Redlining Look Like in Stockton? And so we have some wonderful presenters that are going to be presenting to you today. And the first one, I'll introduce the first one to you. Her name is Ileana Spolstra. She is an environmental justice youth advocate, and she is also a senior paralegal for an immigration law firm, which is amazing. She'll be enrolling in UOP's McGeorge School of Law starting this fall, which is amazing as well.
Congratulations.
And she is very, very passionate about issues concerning climate change and immigration, and plans to advocate for those that can't advocate for themselves. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Ileana.
Thank you so much. It's amazing.
And our other presenter is Bajlene Kalsa, who is also an environmental justice advocate and a freshman at UOP, University of the Pacific here in Stockton. She is majoring in political science with a pre-law minor, and she is very, very passionate about activism for minority communities, and also has taken inspiration for and now advocating for environmental policies as well. So if they are ready, they are going to take it away. And we hope you enjoy this first workshop.
Yes, we're so excited for you guys to meet these 2 amazing women.
Yes.
So we are gonna do a presentation on what redlining looks like in Stockton, and we are your hosts.
Okay, perfect. We're gonna do this again real quick. We're gonna reintroduce ourselves. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
So I'm Ileana. I'm a youth advocate here at Little Manila for the environmental justice program, and I go by she, her, hers pronouns. And
My name is Bajlene Kalsa. I'm also a environmental justice youth advocate, and my pronouns also are she, her, hers.
so we're gonna start off with the discussion question. Let's see here.
So it'll be. Yeah.
So feel free to add your responses to the chat and unmute if you'd like. What is the current narrative about South and downtown Stockton that you've heard or think? Yeah. And we'll just wait for a few responses to trickle in.
Save the trees.
Save the trees.
The discussion questions also put in the chat as well, so.
Unsafe.
Anything else anyone's heard of? That's very common. Best tacos.
Dirty. Downtown is abandoned, food desert.
Usually gets the short end of the stick. I like that one.
Yeah, so this is a good start for our presentation. So there's a reason why Stockton has these reputations.
Yeah, and invested in, and you know, as someone that goes to University of the Pacific, I often hear a lot of folks saying that, you know, there's not much to do around Stockton. It's not safe in Stockton, and they're just here for various different reasons. So we'll be unpacking all of that today. But yeah, I love all the responses we're getting in. Homelessness, forest destruction, economy, healthcare. And then we'll be moving on to the next
All
slide.
right.
Okay. So again, thank you all for your responses. We're going to be moving on to the three main points that we'll be discussing today. As a fellow reminder, there are multiple issues that we'll be unpacking today, and each has multiple layers of information. So please add your questions to the chat, and we will try our best to get to everything. So today we're going to discuss, how did we get here? First, massive immigration waves. Second will be discrimination. Third will be urbanization, and then we'll have effects on community, effects on individuals, and more of the storytelling aspect after the historical aspect. So we're going to start off with massive immigration waves. So Stockton has a long history, as many of you guys know, of being the hub for immigration. Stockton has a growing workforce that was diverse, with folks belonging to different ethnic backgrounds, which are also pictured on the slides. Chinese Americans, Italian Americans, African Americans, Mexican Americans, Japanese Americans, Filipino Americans, and even Sikh Americans that, you know, immigrated to Stockton. As many of you know, Little Manila is an historic site for the Filipino population, because it was a neighborhood that was a focal point during this immigration for Filipinos. Folks would come home after long days of work and come into the community at locations in present day, which is the McDonald's and Crosstown Freeway, which we'll show you later. And folks used to come and dance, have a great time, celebrate with their family. I know just a couple of blocks from where at the center we're sitting today, the Sikh temple was here, and a lot of folks from the Sikh community used to come to worship. So just like Little Manila, there were other neighborhoods in Stockton, California that are now destroyed and no longer exist. So we're going to be going into a little bit of the discrimination part of this aspect. As folks were immigrating to Stockton, California, it was becoming a multicultural hub, and there were multiple cases of discrimination that were taking place. And I do have a couple of images on these slides. There were local racial restrictive housing covenants that were written into the housing deeds to restrict people of color from living in certain zone of cities. So as you can see on my right corner, Black, South Asian, Filipinx, and Latinx folks cannot live north of Main Street, and BIPOC can only live here if they are domestic servants. So there were local racial restrictive housing covenants that were written to the housing deeds to restrict people of colors from living in certain zones of cities. They were being written by the developers who were looking to inflate values, in other words, looking to make a profit. Real estate brokers, organizations, community associations would work with the city officials to systemize the geography of the convent. The most infamous manifestation of this was the exclusion of African Americans, Indians, Mexicans, and Filipino communities north of Main Street, which was enforced until the late 1970s, which is only around 53 years ago. So if you take a closer look at the federal government during the, sorry about that, I'm gonna go to the next one just to kind of show the next slide. During the Great Depression in 1933, the Federal Housing Administration was created. This meant that each neighborhood had a racial occupancy, a designation, for example, whites, mixed, foreign, and Negro. This was the beginning of redlining, otherwise known as residential security. Residential security was based on skin tone, which determined whether or not they would let to the homeowner. So in other words, this meant people of color couldn't own houses because they couldn't get a loan, and to put a roof over their head, they were forced to rent. So I'm gonna go back a slide just to kind of explain some stuff. So with the images here, with this one, systemized by Federal Housing Administration, that was created by the federal government, and it was a response to Great Depression and large unhoused populations. So every neighborhood had a planned race. It was not unplanned. This focuses more on our city, local racially restrictive housing comments, and I've mentioned that before. Just a couple of more images. You can see that it's written here in this underwriting manual, and that there's it was in the late 19th century that there was restrictions of people of color living in certain zones of the city. And then so the reason why we bring this up is a lot of the times when you hear about redlining, a lot of folks don't know that neighborhoods were ranked from A to D. So as you can see in the right corner of my screen, it's A was white, so that was most desirable for investments. And these are, again, real estate brokers and organizations looking at where they wanted to invest in their property. So since A was white, that would be the first grade. So you can kind of see it in this map here, which is the redlining map of Stockton, California in 1936. D, which was kind of like the worst that they called it, was the BIPOC and least desirable, economic and racial segregation. So there's public disinvestment. So D is all throughout on this side of the map.
The east and south.
The east and south sides. So again, you'll have our slides later so you can zoom in and see all of this. But this was something that was, put in and planned by real estate brokers, community members, just for the map. This is just for city of Stockton. So we encourage you to, if you're joining out of town, to look at your city maps and see if this happened in your city as well.
All right, so now we have our next discussion question. After everything we've learned, what long-term effects does redlining have on our housing segregation and racial disparities in Stockton, California?
And again, you can unmute or you can put your responses in the chat. And the discussion question is in the chat as well.
And it is a big question, so we'll give you a few minutes to think about it.
Generational poverty, yes.
Access to opportunities, health outcomes, and education. Food deserts. Disparities of resources. Yep, we'll get to that. Poor air quality. Yep. No generational wealth being built. Yeah, so that leads into our next section, which is, are you ready to move on?
Yeah, I am ready. So the no generational wealth being built actually leads us to the next part of our presentation that we'll go into. Sorry.
There you go.
So we're going to be talking about urbanization, and I'm going to leave these pictures up because one is a house, Brookside, which is on March Lane. So that's north side, and one is south side Stockton. So just keep these pictures in mind when we're talking about urbanization. So we'll be talking more about urban renewal, which gained a lot of prominence in the mid 20th century as a response to deteriorating infrastructure, substandard housing, and economic decline. So this typically involved the clearance of existing structures, particularly those considered obsolete, to make for new development. The FHA, so the Federal Housing Authority, had authorized $1 $1 trillion for the clearance of blighted neighborhood. And this is in quotations, because blighted had a legal definition of mimic race or of declining housing value. And it was open to anyone for their own interpretation. The city government then went on to purchase and demolish large swaths of Stockton along Washington Street, which took away all the ethnic centers. So that was Japantown, Little Italy, most of Chinatown, and box tracks, and etc., and other different neighborhoods. This displaced 12,000 people out of 60,000 people, which is 1/5 of the population in Stockton, California. So once all these people were displaced, the renters never got any compensation, which then left them with nothing. Instead, there was a stimulus suburbanization, with Lincoln Village being built in the 1950s and the Weberstone Mall. And after urban renewal, Stockton had become home to large populations of displaced farm/labor communities. So not only were the folks affected, but not only were the folks affected that were living and being displaced, but now the schools were being affected. So the Stockton Unified School District got a large influx of Mexican migrants and SC Asians. And the school district did not have enough money for English learning opportunities for these communities, which then led to take on effect on the lack of education, which led to lower graduation rates and lower education levels. And so if folks weren't graduating, they were finding other ways to make money, which also led into the high crime rates that Stockton experienced. But it's kind of sad to say that in the city of Stockton today, there are more people that can't read than anywhere else in the country. And, you know, we're a big hub for multiculturalism, but we have this issue in our Stockton Unified School District. And then, as we all know, as folks started to foreclosure, the city's response to all of this was to get more police officers. So the city invested in their police department, then to invest into their community and, you know, addressing the school board's needs for English learning opportunities for all these communities that were being displaced due to the fact that they were trying to urbanize Stockton, California. So in the year of 2008, the housing bubble hit, as many of us lost our homes. And from there, it was a big downfall, and the city of Stockton filed for bankruptcy in 2012. So I just want to bring these two images up. When we were doing our research, these homes were built around the same time, or the kind of like same, yeah, they were the same time from what I got off of my sources on some real estate broker agent. But you can see how the house in Brookside, when I was looking this up, I was like, this looks like a mansion and I would love to live here. But then you look on the left side, that's South Side Stockton, and that's something that looks like someone's house that someone does not want to live there, right? And a lot of the times we look at these homes and we think that these are dangerous neighborhoods. But a lot of the time it's because of the fact that the money is going somewhere else instead of the communities that actually need it. And I hope that from this presentation, we learn and advocate that we all get homes like the Brookside home. And then we'll move on to the next. So we're gonna move on to the Crosstown Freeway, which we all utilize each and every single day. I drive on that freeway every single day to get to school. The Crosstown Freeway is, again, utilized by millions, and it connects, I believe, Highway 5 to 99. It's kind of the 4, so it's kind of 3 different freeways. Don't hold me accountable for geographical highways. I use maps all the time, so sorry. The Crosstown Freeway led to the destruction of communities, loss of green spaces, and climate change / carbon emissions. So when the Crosstown Freeway was built, and as you can see on one of the pictures on the left side of me, was that it was built because there was a demolition of properties, which resulted in displacement of residents and disruption of established communities, as I'd mentioned in the previous slide before. Secondly, this freeway led to the loss of green spaces, which requires the clearing of land, which includes parks, green spaces, and natural habitats. This can result in the loss of biodiversity, reduction in urban greenery, and diminished recreational opportunities for communities. So if you look at the picture, you can see that there's a lot of, houses, and there's still a little bit of greenery, but there was space for these communities that were demolished, like Little Manila. That historic site is on Lafayette Street, is that they just placed a McDonald's there, right? There used to be other buildings that were of significance to our communities, and there's a McDonald's right next to the freeway. So poor communities didn't have the political power to fight off polluting sources. So now South Stockton is known as a dumping ground for industries and huge pollution sources. There's so many warehouses that a lot of our families live near. There's probably more money in South Side than there is in North Side, but no one makes it to it. No one makes it to the residents. So it's a lot of planned pollution by mistakes from city government and, developers that we want to bring out. But not only is the freeway just, hurting our communities, it contributes to greenhouse gas emissions, which not only is exaggerating our climate change, but we breathe that air each day, which affects our air quality and can trigger respiratory diseases like asthma. And I believe 1 in 5 people or 1 in 6 people in our county have asthma. And that's something our Dawn program is working really, really hard to combat, and other initiatives that Little Manila has that we'll be giving resources for at the end of our presentation. Yes.
Yep. And let's see, that was a lot of information thrown at you. So we wanted to give you a space to ask any questions you might have. We'll leave the chat open for any questions. We'll try to get to a few of them.
And we love the comment. I dream of the removal of the crosstown. I that's a good goal for life. Anyone have any questions? Something, maybe if you're taking notes, you want us to go back a slide. Any reactions to how you feel about this?
We'll give it another minute.
And if folks don't have, will these slides be available online?
Can we make it?
Yeah, we can share the slides, and we'll be sharing our contact information at the end. So if folks want to email us and then ask for the slides, we could do that as well. And thank you, Bianette, for saying we were doing a great job.
Yes, so a lot of people, and someone commented, my mom has asthma, so she has a hard time breathing, especially here downtown. That's actually a very common story that we hear, which is part of the reason we started the Dawn program. And we'll get into that a little bit more, and I'm sure other presentations will touch on it too.
And I'll add on, so as folks know, I travel a lot. I went to Big Sur, and you can tell the difference of air you're breathing when you're in other cities. So like when you're by the ocean, it just feels more crisp. And then when you're near the crosstown freeway, you can feel your nose stuffing up. I see that we have a question in the chat, if you want to read it.
Sure. Let's go back to it. What are the impacts of this today via environment? So we see it impacting our environment through the pollution caused by trucks on the massive I-5 freeway. We also see it in the pollution from industries, so the big factories around us.
Yeah, so we had an opportunity to advocate at Asthma Advocacy Day, and someone from my group brought it up that they lived near a railroad track. So even railroad tracks, those boxes, I think that is what they're called, that carry a lot of our stuff, they pollute our environments, and our homes are built nearby this. And the biggest concern for this is that we're breathing in that air, right? So air is free to breathe, and the fact that communities have been pushed out, and there's been planned environmental justice policies just in Stockton, and a lot of BIPOC communities have been breathing this air that they can't even advocate for. And most folks don't know, right? I live near near a lot of trucks, and I didn't know if it wasn't for what we learned in our internship here today that trucks lead to a lot of bad air. I live near I-5 and there's millions of cars that go by every single constantly. So, the gas that is coming out of our cars is pollution, which leads to us breathing it when we're constantly on the road. So we just want folks to be aware of that so that we can advocate to make sure that our communities are breathing clean air.
Yeah. Let's see, do we want to close out questions? I think that was the. Sure.
So we'll ask one last discussion question, just to kind of wrap up this section.
Would it be helpful if these trucks became electronic?
I did see Tesla is coming out with the electronic truck, so maybe there could be more discussion about that. I don't know how trucks are built or how cars are built, but I think environmentally, if it went electronic,
Yeah,
it
because
would
then you
help
wouldn't
us.
have the gas emissions.
Emissions, yes.
And then that would be less destructive. So yeah, that would help, but that's a lot of trucks to cover and change.
Yeah.
So it's a long road ahead, no pun intended. Let's see. Do you want to ask?
Yeah, we'll ask the last question and then we'll have it put in the chat as well. Is how have the historical practices of urban renewal and the construction of the crosstown freeway influenced the social and economic and environmental conditions of communities today? And Ethan did put it in the chat, and so did our moderator. So it's a heavy question, but okay, so we already got a response.
Wow.
Or a question, I think. If you want to read it, you can.
Sure. Okay, so not 100%, but I believe the Crosstown Freeway was a product of eminent domain along with other projects that have had detrimental impacts on our environment. Should we take more steps to combat or restrict eminent domains projects that are not environmentally friends and threaten and a threat to public health? Definitely. I think that's something we need to prioritize, especially with all of the climate change activity that we've seen lately and all of the health concerns that we've seen in South and downtown Stockton.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, go ahead.
I also say a lot of the times when we talk about climate change, right, or any of these public health policies, a lot of the times BIPOC communities are not at the table, right? They don't have a seat at the table. And a lot of these people are making these policies for folks that are breathing the air, right? So if you live in Stockton, California, you're going to know of the issues about having asthma, and you know what it's like to be on South Side, whereas someone that might be living, in a different city like Lodi would not know about the Crosstown Freeway effects. So I would say it's important for you to learn and then advocate as well for different communities.
Because even if you don't know it, like we're presenting today, you know it in terms that allergies are really bad here, that people have asthma frequently here. There are little signs that we see frequently that add up to the same conclusions. Yeah.
I can't say I favor the EV industry, electric industry, but being surrounded by freeways and warehouses isn't the answer either.
Right.
Yes, that is, Central Valley is known as like the agriculture area. And so a lot of the times, I grew up more around warehouses, trucking industries, than I did around farms. And I live in Lathrop, California, just to put that out there. So I grew up near warehouses, the Ghirardelli warehouse. I don't really see farming here. So there's a lot of, work that needs to be done because we're breathing in that air. And then,
all right. Yeah, we're all set. Thank you so much, everyone who participated. We'll move on to our next slide. Let's see. So now we're going to talk about the effects on community. And we've talked about this a little bit so far. We're going to dive into how the history of Stockton, as Bajleen went over, is affecting us today. Thank you. So here we see on the left an education gap and on the right a language gap, and I'll get into that a little bit. On the left, you can see the estimated percentage of people with at least a bachelor's degree between 2016 and 2020. The white section represents 9.99 or less percent or less, and the darkest purple is 50% or greater. As you can see, the vast majority of South Stockton and downtown Stockton does not have a bachelor's degree, where the wealthier part of Stockton, which is the Brookside neighborhood over here. See, this darker section has at least 50%, and then this lower section has less than 10% who have a bachelor degree.
And for
Let's see.
those who don't know where Brookside is, that are out of town, Brookside is, if you go on Highway 5, it's March Lane.
March
The
Lane,
March
yeah.
Lane is the exit for that.
Yeah, so as she was talking about before, this is where the investment went into when people were constructing homes in the 1900s. And this is where people were disenfranchised. So-
Yeah, so sorry about that. Lincoln Center is about right here-ish, from what we were seeing on the map. So when Lincoln Center was built in the 1930s, that was a investment that they wanted to make, and you can tell. Okay, go ahead.
So Brookside is this deep purple section
Mhm.
right here. It's gonna be really this whole area. Yeah. And then on the left, and feel free to keep writing questions in the chat, we'll try to get to them. And on the right, we have the language gap. So what's interesting is when you put the education map side by side with the language gap, the language gap reflects the estimated percentage of all the people age 5 and older who are non-English speaking between 2017 and 2021. The map that's sorry, in this map, the darkest shade of purple signifies 40% or more of the residents are non-English speakers, and the white portion of the map signifies 10.55 or less of the residents speak a language other than English. You can see that the non-English speakers are primarily in the south and east side, so this very heavily colored purple over here. This section right here is the Crosstown Freeway. So this is going to be our reference throughout the presentation, as you can tell. Where was I? So looking back at the left of the map, you can see the same areas where less than 10% of the residents have a bachelor's, and in the same section, it's primarily non-English speakers. And this goes to show the lack of investment in education in the south and east side parts of Stockton, as well as the lack of integration of non-English speakers into North Stockton, which is likely an echo of the discriminatory housing regulations people of color face in our community for decades. Yeah, next slide.
There you go.
Thank you. And then next we are showing a map of the wealth gap. Now this is a wider scope of our greater community. For those of you who can't see, at the very top we have Sacramento. And at the bottom we have Merced and San Jose. And then to the left we have San Francisco and the rest of the Bay Area. And in the middle we have Stockton. So this is us right here. The map is focused on the estimated per capita income between 2017 and 2021. The darker areas make 52,000 or greater per year, and the lightest section makes 21,999 or less per year. Now, as you can see, the vast majority of Stockton makes around 31,999. That's this second lightest shade or less. So definitely we make less money than the Bay and the greater surrounding communities. And yeah.
And then I know there's a couple of questions that were coming in the chat. And okay, if we want to answer that one. I think it's kind of answered, but they were talking about, do you think the suburbanization of Lathrop is a reflection of suburbanization of Stockton and the Brookside and Trinity Parkway communities? And someone in the chat did mention, suburbanization of Lathrop has a lot to do with folks from the Bay Area moving to San Joaquin County because it is less expensive. So yes, it is the same economic development players making those decisions regardless of his reasons. Lathrop, for those who don't know, there is one side of the freeway is just homes where I live, and the other side is River Islands, which now has been developing through developers in the past couple of years because of the fact that folks are coming from the Bay Area because they make all this money, right? And they're able to afford houses out here more.
And just to add on to that, a lot of communities around us have a rich history, but Stockton has a particularly rich history in not being the most responsible financially from our city government. And that's where a lot of, I think that's where a lot of the reasoning for this big difference in Stockton has come from, because a lot of people have just not had opportunities to grow like in our surrounding areas, especially the Bay Area. Everyone knows the Bay Area is very tech oriented and has a lot of,
Valley. I mean, that explains why University of the Pacific, there's a lot of folks that come from outside, not a lot of Stockton folks, not a lot. I graduated last year, and a lot of the kids at our university, at our schools, our high school, did not want to go to University of the Pacific because they're like, there's no opportunities here.
Right.
And that has to do with how the city plans out, how the communities are affected. So this map is a way to show the wealth gap from the language and etc.
All right, so feel free to keep dropping things in the chat. We're gonna go ahead and move on to our next slide. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we went over the effects on the community in general, but I think it's also important to talk about the effects on individuals, because we have a lot of them in Stockton. So we interviewed two people who grew up in South Stockton. One individual, Florence, was born and raised here 73 years ago. During that time, she moved between South Stockton and East Stockton. She went to Edison High School and has seen her children and grandchildren do the same. Her parents migrated from the Philippines and ultimately moved to Stockton because of the large Filipino population. And though she has seen a lot of difficult times here, she seemed pretty optimistic when we spoke to her. She's seen things change for the better. For example, local government is more open than it used to be. You see more diversity, specifically women and people of color in positions of power. And though some things have improved, there's still a noticeable amount of economic segregation, lack of opportunity, and overall, the public image is not good. That's not really a surprise to most. As for the economic segregation, we spoke about how it would be nice to see more equity in South Stockton in terms of resources that North Stockton gets. And as far as the lack of opportunities go, she has seen many people leave Stockton because there's no opportunity for career growth here, as Bonjaline mentioned in her experience at UOP. And as for the public image, Stockton has a bad reputation in terms of bankruptcy, crime, scandal, etc. And unfortunately, that image doesn't leave room for all the hardworking immigrants here, or the diversity, or the student body, or the activists. So we do have a lot more going for us than what meets the eye. And when all that is reflected is the bad, when all that's reflected is the bad of a place, the residents can internalize those notions and feel the weight of those negative expectations placed on their town, on their community, and ultimately themselves, which leads to our next individual. So our second individual, Gurley, grew up in Stockton from 1980 to 1997. She was born in the Philippines and later went to Edison as well. Gurley's family made it a point to enroll her in the gifted and talented programs, as education was a tool towards upward growth. Now, being a part of these programs made her want to leave Stockton even more than her peers, because learning about a wide variety of topics such as forestry, ecology, astronomy, and marine biology allowed her mind to expand past the horizons of Stockton. Meanwhile, there was rampant gang activity at Edison, and this was disheartening to the student body because of the negative media attention on their school, as well as the reality of gangs on their doorstep. And the students internalized the bad publicity, which was particularly difficult for Gurley because she was excelling in her studies, and it was not an altogether bad school.
Mhm.
Now, at the end of the day, she knew she had to leave Stockton because, as Florence and Bargeline mentioned, there's just not many opportunities here. And aside from education, she mentioned how it was always a struggle to get resources in their neighborhood. If they wanted to go somewhere nice to eat, they had to go all the way out to March Lane, which is a bit of a drive from South Stockton, East
Yeah.
Stockton, depending on where you're at.
Mhm.
Or they had to go further north. And going to these parts of town allowed them peace of mind in terms of safety, but at the same time, she was always conscious of the racism and in no way felt welcomed in the so-called nicer parts of town. Yeah.
And a lot of these things, like when folks are going to, March Lane, this just reminds me that a lot of folks that come to University of the Pacific, they will go hang out at Lincoln Center, right? But you don't really see them coming out to South Side or East Side Stockton. A lot of kids will go to the nicer parks. For example, Brookside has Nelson Park that's open to the public. Or they'll go near the Delta, which is on I think like the Garlic Brothers restaurant that's over there.
Mhm.
But you don't really see that whole demographic coming into South Side or South Stockton. Don't go south of Miracle Mile. Yes, that's
Yeah.
something I've heard a lot. And I went to a high school that was kind of downtownish, so I didn't really see much to it, but a lot of folks are told that. And I don't want to just give bad rep to just, out of state students that are coming to University of the Pacific. I've noticed it. It's also within our community
Mhm.
that lives in Stockton. A lot of kids will be like, we don't like Stockton, like they don't own being from Stockton, and it's because of the negative impacts they've had, like you've mentioned,
Mhm.
for being here. So that's a narrative that we want to change.
And then someone else goes south of Highway 4.
My
My
family
family
used
used to say living in Northside. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty common story for locals. And I know kids from Lodi, a town north of Stockton, are told not to go south of March Lane, which is an even larger, don't go past there kind of mark.
Yeah, growing up, I lived in Lathrop my whole life, and I remember my parents telling me, so the Sikh temple's a couple blocks away from our center. Don't leave something in your car, you're gonna get robbed, or it's unsafe for you to go alone. And that's just from my family. So just changing that narrative as well.
Yep.
Make sure just being aware of that. And we can move on to
All right.
the next slide.
So keep doing. So our next slide is now what? So we are obviously a part of Little Manila, and we are doing some things to try to make the situation a little bit better. So Little Manila Rising offers a wide spectrum of programs that addresses education, environment, redevelopment, and public health. We have the DAWN program. It stands for Decreasing Asthma Within Neighborhoods. We have the ECHO program, which stands for Equality in COVID and Health Outcomes. We have Healing Puso, which is the Filipinx Healing Self and Others program. We have Environmental Justice, which includes our Skywatch initiative and the Urban Forestry program, as well as the Youth Advocates initiative, which is what we're a part of right now.
And the Little Manila after school program, which I was an alumni of.
And the Community Development Historical Preservation.
Which the community development also leads Little Manila historical tours that we got at the beginning of our internship here. So we got to go down to the sites and see what used to be of Lafayette Street instead of the Crosstown Freeway and McDonald's.
So really all of this is to say that Little Manila Rising is trying to educate and uplift the disenfranchised parts of Stockton as much as possible.
And then
Yes.
just to shout out a couple of our, programs. If you look at this image, this is our urban forestry,
Forestry.
sorry, program, which they go around, I think it's McKinley Park, that they go and they plant trees and they go take care of it. And that's a way to combat the air, like we had shown in the other maps, that we can't breathe it. So a lot of these I think it's Deshaun and Matt who are in this picture that, are leading these efforts. One of the other efforts, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I want to give a shout out to Dawn as well. Jazzy's in the chat, so she'll have more information, but that's really going to educate the community in the schools about asthma. Because we all know that Dawn was an initiative that started after Dr. Don had passed away with asthma, and there was no way of knowing that unless we had educated our folks. And then Skywatch, which I helped Jermaine on, is really about getting free air monitors in your homes to monitor the air quality of the area that you live around. Because a lot of the times, BIPOC communities and people of color that don't understand this don't know that the air they're breathing is actually harmful to them on a certain day. We usually, during our internship here, we recalled that we were wearing masks before COVID due to the wildfires, right? California has a lot of wildfires, and that air that we were breathing is unsafe. But a lot of BIPOC communities don't know that, so that the air monitors also address that as well.
And the general
communities
in
in
South and East Stockton. It's hard to know when you're living in it. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring awareness to people, as well as everything else. But yeah.
And then our moderator Crease will be dropping down links for you guys to all to look at, but we'll move on. Does anyone have any burning questions? Put them all now and we can have like a discussion as well. Jazzy's uplifting Dawn.
Thank you, team.
The whole team is throwing out links for us. Is there any questions that folks want to ask?
Well, let's see if there's any questions from before that we missed.
Jazzy brings up an interesting point as well. People say don't go on Gilbert or to the east side. Interesting. That's okay. And no questions. Everyone's just waiting for those links. Okay. Oh, what inspired you guys to get involved with LMR?
We'll have a whole section on that later. Let's see. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, since
Okay.
I'll give my brief response.
Sure. So I got involved with LMR because, yes, a preview. Because I had a friend get involved last year, and I knew she was learning so much, and I wanted the same education about my own hometown. And yeah, I think this experience has delivered. Well, how about you?
Yeah, so the preview is this. I'm actually on the youth panel after our second set of workshops, so you'll hear more from me. But I got involved with Little Manila with different organizations. I knew the staff here from different venues, and I really loved all the events they were putting on and everything they talked about. I didn't grow up. I grew up in the neighboring area of Stockton. My sister was born in Stockton, so I'm an adopted Stocktonian, as I like to call myself. So that's why I got involved with Little Manila Rising, and everyone's amazing here. So you should definitely check out all the links.
Yeah.
Honorary Stocktonian status.
Definitely.
Yes, that's what I'm going to start calling myself now.
Mhm.
Is there any last questions before we decide to close off? Any last questions? Anyone want us to go over anything? Give you like 30 seconds to put in the chat. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. We have our references right here, our wonderful interviewees and presentations that we learned from.
Mhm. So Philip Merlot also sits on the board for Little Manila Rising. And we'll drop down his email as well. He does the Stockton history that we learned from. And then our wonderful Carice taught us a lot about redlining. And so she also is a staffer at Little Manila Rising, and she'll put her contact information. So if you want to know about more about the redlining portion, and then we're also going to put our contact information in the chat. So if you want to reach out to us, or if you have any questions you want to connect, you can do that. And that's basically it.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for listening in, and I hope you all learned a thing or two here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to pass it off to our wonderful MCs, Marissa and Devon.
Yes.
So we're going to stop sharing.
Thank you, Vajeline. Thank you, Ileana.
Thank you guys so much for that. Yeah, that was an amazing workshop.
Yes, we learned so much, and we hope you all did too. So we're gonna take this moment right now to please either unmute or drop in the chat something new you've learned about Stockton, or yeah, anything that you talked about, the programs we have here. We really look forward to seeing some of those. Yeah, so thank you, Vajeline, thank you, Ileana, for that wonderful workshop.
Or even one word of how you're feeling right now.
Yes,
about
yeah, please let us know. How's everyone
anything.
doing out there?
Yeah.
Our participants.
How are we feeling?
Yeah, drop a reaction. We'd love to see it. Well, wait a second
Ready
for
to
it.
move
Ready? I love it.
Love
I
that
love it.
response,
Okay,
yes.
so we're gonna move into our next thing, which is, so right now we're gonna do a little bit of a break. So please feel free to get up, go to use the restroom, or get some food. But before you do that, we're gonna have a little activity for everybody. It's called the Stockton Scavenger Hunt. So you'll have, it says 2 minutes on here, but we can extend that to be 5 minutes or however long it takes. So please feel free to, as you're grabbing a snack or something, find the closest item to you that you think represents Stockton, and then bring it back as fast as you can. Check in with the chat, and the first 2 people to check in with the chat, you will be able to share your items that you gave. So yeah, feel free to also share in the chat if you didn't get here in time to share unmuted. You'll still be able to share it anyways. But yes, and thank you, Donald, for your comment here saying that despite all the damage our community has taken, feeling very hopeful for the future. Yes, and we are too, especially being a part of a wonderful organization of Little Manila Rising. So yes, and with that, feel free to take a break and stand up, stretch, whatever you need to do, and then come back and check in with us at the chat and show us your items once we get back. So yeah, thank you guys. We'll just take a second to take a break.
We're excited to see them.
Thank you guys. Hello.
Okay, welcome back, guys. I hope you guys grab some items. Feel free to put in the chat box. Maybe the first 2 people will hear out from you a little bit, see what item you brought in.
Yes, exactly. So Sophia has an actual ball. Sophia, feel free to go off your or turn on your camera and show us if you want to, or you can always just type in the chat what it represents as well to you about Stockton. I love that. I kind of want to know.
I feel like I'm just BSing an answer, but I got this. This is a stress ball that I got at a Healing Puso event, either in April. No, not in April. I got it last year, and I was just Healing Puso, Little Manila, Stockton. And I made that's it.
I love that. No, I love that. Thank you, Sophia.
Yeah, that's still a cool
That's
connection.
perfect.
Thank you, Sophia.
And I love those stress balls. Those are super nice, and the color is beautiful. So I love that item. That's amazing. And yes, is there
anyone else who would like to show us their item?
Yeah, feel free. It's ube color, yes, it is.
We love that.
Does anybody else want to feel free to turn your camera on? Oh, I think Philip, if you have an item, we'd love to see your item as well that you brought to represent Stockton.
Okay, I'm not sure if you're speaking. We can't hear you, but I see that you brought an Amazon box.
Yeah,
there we go, there we
yeah.
go.
So like this, a lot of meetings, this Amazon box, but like first and foremost is the hopeful meeting, and that is that you never know what you're going to get, and there's a lot of special stuff that you can that might arrive at your doorstep when you're here. But second of all, I think that this is a city where people work extraordinarily hard in difficult conditions, which is oftentimes at Amazon, but also in a lot of different contexts. And I think having family members that work at Amazon, like locally, it's a hustle. And I think people here hustle for better lives. Yeah. I think last but not least, on a historical context, tying this into redlining, one of the reasons that Stockton has more logistics and warehousing jobs than anywhere else in the United States per square mile is the history of redlining here. And the fact that this has always been a city that's relied on logistics and warehousing, but because the city government in the 60s and 70s like doubled down on that, right, and doubled down on having large warehousing districts in South Stockton in neighborhoods where people were living, right? Those decisions 50 years ago have an impact today, and that's why today South Stockton has so much, especially further south along, I guess, is it Arch Road? There's such a large logistics district that has huge impacts for the health and safety of the community. So I think there's a lot of layers to this, but there's an Amazon box right next to me. It's just like, you know what? That's it.
Yes.
Thank you for that connection. I would have never even.
And Philip, if you don't mind, do you mind introducing kind of your role also relating to LMR and stuff? Because just so everyone knows, Philip actually taught us in one of like our very first workshops as youth advocates, kind of about Stockton. And I know I learned so much in that workshop about the history of our city. So Philip, if you can just introduce you're.
I'm a board member for Little Manila Rising. Yes. And I'm a historian, and I work for the San Joaquin County Museum. And I guess I got started with Dylan Delvo and some other folks at Little Manila were the people 7 years ago that said you need to start researching local history for the benefit of the community and writing about it. So I'm a board member. I'm very thankful to be involved, and I do a lot of writing and presenting on regional history topics that are of significance to the economic and community outcomes that we have here today.
Yes, thank you so much, Philip. Thank you for all that you do for LMR and for our community as well. So thank you so much. And thank you also to Sophia for sharing her item as well.
Yes, 2 amazing items. Thank you guys so much for that.
Thank you. No one brought a t-shirt. That's so true. Thank you, Amy. Yes. Yes, and please feel free to.
Also had some comments up above. We're going to go to those really quickly. So, Little Manila's Rising Youth Programs give me so much hope for the future in Stockton. This is the change we need for our communities. Thank you so much, Philip.
Thank you for saying that.
Nice comment too.
And then we have another comment here that says, I work in an area that has a lot of apartment complexes. I wonder if this has any connection with Stockton's redlining history. And I honestly think it might. There's like a lot of people coming into the areas in the valley also because of like jobs like in the tech industry that Bajeline and Ileana were talking about. So I'm sure that does have some connection. Yeah. They might be able to tell you more, but
that's a really good thought. Yeah.
Yes. So thank you so much. And if you want to, please feel free to drop in the chat if you brought any other items. Yeah. No t-shirts. Yeah. But thank you for sharing. Really appreciate that.
All right. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed that break, got some water, got to stretch. Now we're going to get back into some workshops. We have 2 different workshops. So we have Know Your History by Ruby Navarro and Cameron Gonzalez. And we also have The Culture of Higher Education in Stockton by Marilee Gonzalez, Hilda Garcia, and Jacqueline Costa. So Basically how this is going to work, you can decide whichever workshop you want to join into. If something happens, if you end up falling out of the workshop or you your Wi-Fi disconnects, anything, come back into this room and we'll get everything situated for you and shoot you back into a workshop. So I hope you guys enjoy the workshops. We'll see you guys soon. We're going to pass it off to
Yes, we will pass it off to our presenters.
yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Okay, so welcome everyone. This is Know Your Story. This is a workshop about LMR's Youth Bright Spots Project workshop. And then Hannah.
So these are our introduction slides. So I'm Ruby. I'm currently serving as a youth advocate for Healing Puso and as a coordinator for the Youth Bright Spots Project. I am a rising freshman at UCSB and I'll be majoring in film and media studies. And in my free time, I love taking photos with my film camera.
And then hello, my name is Cameron Gonzalez. I'm 24 years old. I'm from Manteca, California, but I'm repping the 209. And I am one of this year's Youth Bright Spots coordinators. I've been working with Little Manila and Healing Puso for 3 years now. I graduated from Manteca High and then UC Davis in 2021. I'm working towards completing my master's in psychology, and fun stuff about me. I love to dance and I love nerdy things from my childhood, like Pokemon, anime, and like comic books.
So now we're gonna get started with our icebreaker. And so if you guys could type out in the chat some of your favorite songs at the moment, or maybe some of your all-time favorite songs. And on the slide here, me and Cam listed some of our favorite songs that we had in mind.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yes, we both love K-pop.
Yeah, so please shout out your favorite songs, like at the moment and like all time too. Believer, nice. And yeah, I guess we can explain some of mine. So okay word is like from Warren Hugh. I don't know if y'all know about 88 Rising, but he's one of the new singers from the last couple of years, and I've been to a lot of Head in the Clouds music festivals and like went to his concert. So he's definitely one of my favorite artists right now, and that's my favorite song. Okay word.
Right Side of My Neck by Faye Webster. That's a good song. Nice.
If I like nice. And then maybe we'll collect all these and like make a playlist and like share it with y'all.
Yeah.
I think here, let's turn off the background.
Yeah, so we can see you.
Yeah. There's both of us in the same room, so that we're trying to get this. There you go.
There we go. I know Cam like kept disappearing in and out.
I know.
No mystery collaborators.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in the classic funk era. Ooh.
Did you want to explain one of your songs?
Yeah, so one of my favorite songs at the moment is Snow on the Bluff by J. Cole. I've been listening to that song on repeat. I don't know, I really just love the message of the song, and it's really nice and chill just to listen to, you know, whenever. It's kind of like a at any time, at any moment kind of song for me.
Yeah,
It's
I
a great
listened to that
song.
song when it first came out.
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks y'all for sharing your songs. Keep sharing and everything like that when we go through these. We'd love to hear them. And like, since I'm a dancer, I love music and like just love hearing people's like perspectives and like their music interests. Okay, we're gonna go to our next slide. So yeah, what is Youth Bright Spots? So just as an introduction, Yo Cali is an organization in California that's facilitating this collective Bright Spots project. So me and Ruby aren't the only ones working on this right now. So this is Little Manila Rising's Bright Spots, but there's several collectives and several organizations doing their own Youth Bright Spots and have those coordinators. So our cohort is working on their own projects throughout California, and then Yo Cali is going to show all those projects and highlight those projects. And so this is one of our projects that we're working on for Youth Bright Spots. Just as a little introduction, Little Manila Rising. Little Manila Rising, short for LMR, serves the South Stockton community. developing equitable solutions to the effects of historical marginalization, institutionalized racism, and harmful public policy. LMR offers a wide spectrum of programs that address education, environment, and redevelopment and public health. And then Little Manila Rising's Bright Spots project that we wanted to highlight as Stockton and like what Little Manila is really proud of is the Little Manila After School program, and specifically the participants in it. So Little Manila's Bright Spot is the Little Manila After School program, a program in which youth students ranging from middle school to high school come to learn about ethnic studies and other topics revolving around Filipino history and identity.
Know your story. So in this workshop, it's going to be very interactive. We're going to be asking you a lot of questions, and a lot of these questions we asked in our survey to LMASP alumni. So how do we learn our story? So we learn our story from learning about our past, knowing our present, and looking towards the future. So this is one of the survey questions that we asked in our survey for the LMASP alumni. And the question was, what life challenges affect your mental health and wellness? So it was a tie between financial and school. So 30% of the people who answered the question, financial problems affected their mental health and wellness. And then school, 30%, school affected their mental health and wellness. And then 7% answered it was a mix of financial, school, and work. And then another 30% answered that it was communication with family.
Yeah, so there's going to be like a digital magazine. And so we collected data from the LMASP students to see what we'd like to put in that zine. And since there's a three-way tie, and then the other one was like all the above. So it looks like we're going to have 3 separate sections because those seem very important. So look forward to that later in this month. So next slide.
So now we are going to ask you guys, the participants, and if you could answer down in the chat if you can, you don't have to if you don't want to, but if you feel like it, to answer these 2 questions. What life challenges affect your mental health and wellness? So if we could answer that one.
Yeah, and you can answer in the chat. And if you want someone who wants to like share with their speak it out to the group, you can raise your hand and then we can spotlight you and you can share some of your answers. Winter. Yeah, the SADS, the seasonal the seasonal depression.
You can answer freely. You don't have to confine your answer into those previous categories.
Yeah. Let's think of this more as like a conversation piece. Like we're not going to be like answering stuff. Like we can just all have a conversation about these topics. These are just stuff that we love to talk about, and we want to give you all the space to like freely talk about these things.
Life changes.
Yeah.
Loss. School and home life. Seasonal changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, work culture.
Work culture.
Me recently, after graduating from UC Davis and like having to go straight into the workforce, I realized that if you don't like what you're working in, you burn out super easy. So these 3-hour shifts end up feeling like double the time, like 6 hours, but then also finding work that you do like, it doesn't feel as long. So I've had to try to find different avenues of like what I like to work and what I don't like. And so, yeah, work environment is definitely a huge one that I resonate with.
Moving and meeting new people. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that one a lot since I am leaving for college within the next 2 months. So I am really I'm really stressed about moving away from Stockton, leaving all my family and friends here and moving to a completely new city, not knowing anyone. And it's just a totally new environment. And on top of that, I'm starting college. So I'm like, the nerves are like, they're there.
So before we move on to that next question, I want to give the floor. Does anyone want to like talk about that like specifically through the Zoom chat, or or like to us like verbally, you can raise your hand and then we can give you the space. Let's do this. Window of opportunity closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, keep answering in the chat, but we're gonna move on to the next question.
So the next question is, what are some coping skills, strategies, or activities that you do to relieve stress when you're feeling stressed or struggling with your mental health? So you can just leave that down in the chat below of some things that you do to cope. Going on walks outside.
What's something you like to do?
Me, I feel like just doing nothing.
Doing nothing.
Just doing nothing and like laying down and sleeping or like listening to music.
Mhm.
I think one really big one though is hanging out with my friends. I feel like hanging out with people who just really don't drain your energy and like whenever like they just like people who fill your cup. I feel like that really just refills me and makes me feel, feel like that I'm loved and that there are people there to support me. And it really just helped me with my mental health.
Mhm.
Sleep,
Me,
qualities.
when I was in college, whenever I was stressed out, like right after I failed a quiz, I would go to the gym and I would just run. I would run for like miles. Like sometimes with my friends, it's like, yo, you okay? It's like, yeah, I'm just gonna run it off real quick. So instead of the freshman 15, I actually lost like 15 doing that,
Oh, really?
which means I was also stressed out a lot.
Yeah.
But that was definitely, exercise is a really good one because it bridges the gap between mental health and the physical health, and it connects it. It shows like you lose a lot of cortisol, exit your body, and like getting movement, exercise is a really good way to like balance out your blood pressure and like stuff like that. Gratitude first and foremost.
A lot of people are saying quality sleep.
Yeah. I feel like having a good shower, like
Oh,
right
yeah.
before you sleep, and then like just feeling clean to like have a good wind down.
Journaling and writing. Yeah, that's a good one. Painting. Yes, creative expression.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different stuff, and like honestly, there's not one way that works for everyone. So
Yeah.
like everyone's mental health journey is unique. So I really appreciate everyone sharing the way that they cope with stress and everything like that.
Ooh, binge marathon.
Yeah. That's fun. A good weekend.
Yeah, showers. Like yesterday was kind of like my rest day. So the whole day I was just rewatching all the Harry Potter movies.
Okay. So if anyone wants to verbally share, window opportunity 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So we're gonna move on to our next topic, but thank you all so much for sharing.
Thank you. Yes. How does your ethnic identity play a role in your life? So we're going to answer that question first, and you can answer that down in the chat.
First of all, adore the graphics. Yeah, so this one's kind of it seems broad, but it's
Yeah.
kind of like one of the more harder questions.
It is.
Because like, to be honest, I didn't really get in touch with my Filipino side until I went to college and like joined the clubs and everything like that and started recognizing that, hey, I'm Filipino American. And I feel like it really propelled me towards like the path that I am today, like being connected with all those people. They gave me so many avenues in college, like Nihon Clinic and UC Davis. There's a lot of opportunities for me to like go towards my mental health path. And then like all of that led to Little Manila, joining Healing Paso. So I feel like my ethnic identity really propelled me towards and like guided my goals that I had.
I feel the same way. I feel like I really didn't start connecting with my Filipino culture until I went to high school and I joined the Filipino club there. And it's there where I really learned to embrace my culture, embrace myself. And it really, it also directed me towards the Little Manila After School program. And I found the Little Manila After School program during the pandemic. And that was a time where I really just felt lost. And, there wasn't a routine to everyday life, but the meetings really did helped me. They talked on topics such as one big topic that really helped me was colonialism and the colonial mentality. And it really just helped me, I guess, I didn't know there's a term for like all the self-hate that I had for myself. And, you know, it really just helped me share my story, and hearing other people's stories was just so healing for me. And it really helped me find the goal of that. Like, I think my purpose in life is to really, collective story, sharing my story so that others feel comfortable to share theirs. And it creates, I guess, collective group healing. And I think it's great.
Yeah, so I noticed there's not a lot of replies in the chat about it. I know it's definitely a hard like concept and like question. So definitely y'all can think about it. And then last few years dove into African spirituality. Yeah, that's awesome. And like healing through like really embracing it. I feel like it's hard to embrace your ethnic identity sometimes, especially if you don't know too much about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
of course.
Okay, hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this is Devon speaking, and I just want to say, like, I think when I was younger, like growing up and watching like all my childhood shows, like it was hard seeing like people like me like on the screen. So I would like not necessarily like embrace my identity or culture. And it like took a while, but it's just something that I just feel it's so important, so eye-opening. And I wish and hope that everyone gets to experience it. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yes, I totally agree.
Okay, so I'm looking at the timer and like I'm loving the conversations, but time's going quick. So please keep answering in the chat, and then like keep asking questions too if you want us to like, dive into anything. But we're gonna move on to the next slide. All right, and so now we're gonna go into, so those were kind of the samples of like the survey questions that we had. And now we're gonna get into like the know your history, know your story. And so we're gonna go about this in like 3 parts. It's gonna be your past, your present, and then your future. And then how it revolves around even where you're from, not just Stockton. But around so for now, let's go with know your past. So our question for y'all and to think about is, where's your family from? Like, how did your family find themselves in Stockton, California, USA? Because even if you're a baby or you weren't part of that journey when your parents first immigrated, or even your grandparents, that's part of your history. That's part of your story that you may not know or you may do. So we'd love to put that we'd love for y'all to share those in the chat or verbally on Zoom. And even if you don't know, we want these to be questions that for you to ask your family. To really get to know your past, so you know where you are, where you're rooted in, and like how are you part of Stockton, California, USA? Like how does your family play into your story? Let's see. Good.
I know for me, a lot of my family members, they immigrated to Stockton in the early 1900s as farm workers. And then when my mom immigrated to Stockton from the Philippines, she immigrated to Little Manila here in Stockton.
Yeah, so waiting for y'all to see. So like shoot down the chat, like where's your family from? So for me, I'm half Tagalog and half Ilocano. So my mom and dad, they immigrated when they were super young, so they didn't teach a lot to me, but I had to learn from like my grandma, like where are they from? So there's a place in the Philippines, I believe it's in Quezon City, so it's Libis. It's like a compound where all my cousins live. That was my mom's side of the family. It's super fun. Like they always had like a sorry store, and they had their shop where they did fried chicken. So we always had that for breakfast and while they're serving the other Filipinos in the area. So I felt like that was a really fun history to know about my family, that they're all in this compound. You can geographically see your history. Wow, mom immigrant from Japan and dad immigrant from the Philippines. They met in Guam and moved to Stockton because my granduncle was a Filipino farm worker.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, so like really recognize like your stories and like ask your parents like, hey, how was it like to immigrate and stuff like that? Like, what did grandma do? What did our grandparents do? Like, and also like, you can ask about your last name. So my last name is Gonzalez. That's not a Filipino last name. That's definitely Spanish. So that's the colonization. But also, how did we retake that last name? Like, what does it mean to be a Gonzalez for me with my family in the Philippines and here in the US? And we can move on to the next slide while people keep like shooting answers in the chat.
Wow.
I'm still on the previous question. Helps me guide my life path lifestyle. Keeps me grounded in colonial mentality. Yeah, there's so much like colonial. That's a whole other workshop that could be like done with the colonial mentality and like deconstructing that within our minds. As Filipinos, as just minority groups in general from that colonization stuff. Okay. Please keep sharing. This is a lot of awesome stuff. Nice.
Nice.
Okay, we want to give you all time for the other activities that we have. So we're gonna move on, but keep answering in the chat. Like we love y'all's responses.
I love reading your guys' responses. Oh.
Why is it important to know our past and history? I think we kind of brushed over that. It's like our past, even if we may not know a lot about it, it kind of shows the trajectory where we are and like where our family is and like where do we inherently belong and what paths that we can take after that.
Yeah.
But y'all can comment on this question too. But do you have anything else on this or can we?
We can move on.
Okay, we can go to the next slide. My family is from Bicol in the Philippines.
Ooh.
I love all the long like family studies in this.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the next slide in the past.
So this slide is just explaining why it's important to know our past and our history. So when we know our past and history, it really allows us to have more insight within our culture's origin and your origin, and it really creates a sense of awareness and understanding. And through understanding the past and, of course, being thoughtful in the present, we create our futures and we're able to, pass down legacies and create this sort of healing to kind of combat this multi-generational trauma that we have.
And then next slide. So now we're gonna talk about the present now. I love that y'all are sharing, keep sharing. I'm sorry for going super fast, like we're just on a time crunch. So for the present, I really want y'all to like think of the moment that you're in right now and like think of yourself, like this is your story. And so we also want to like root it within where you are now, like whether that's Stockton, wherever y'all are from, or where you are in this present moment. So here's a couple questions. So like, what is your favorite place in Stockton? Like to eat, to hang out? I just got some boba today, so I love getting boba with my brother here. And I also love UOP because that's where I learned how to dance. What's a place or person that gives you peace or healing? So it could be a place that you go to hang out at, like a park or anything. It can also be a person that gives you that peace, that gives you that healing. And then the final question, how do you take things from your past to stay mindful in the present? So now it's that connection. How does your past affect your present? And how can you like be mindful of your past and going into the present? Let's see some of the chat.
Slides, the graphics.
Thank y'all for the graphics.
Thank you.
So let's hear it. What's some of y'all favorite places in Stockton? Or like where you're from now, where you're sitting at?
I agree with the UOP one too, because I have a lot of good memories from HSP, Kilasan, high school picnic there. Ooh.
Jess says Cambodian Buddhist temple, edible schoolyard. Don't speak of them past so much, but I love them both because they're places of culture and resilience. I love it. LMR, everyone's saying LMR.
I know.
Yeah. Downtown Stockton's one of my favorite places. Yeah, I need to visit again because since I live in Manteca and I'm at Davis, I don't get a lot of opportunities besides like Little Manila sanction events. So I really need to like just take a day to like hang out with either my brother or like friends in LMR to like just check out Stockton more and like really get to know the place that I love so much. Favorite place in Stockton is my room. And honestly, my room in Davis is a safe spot for me.
You
Gives me
anxiety.
anxiety. Honestly, I do press after during my drive from south side to north side.
Oh my gosh, yes, I agree.
Yeah,
I drive from north side all the way here, and that drive, it's like maybe like 20 minutes, but I love listening to music, and like you said, it's a great way to decompress.
mhm.
Cat Central.
Yeah. So keep sharing in the chat. We're gonna move to the next one, so we have time for the activity for you. Burritos, yep. So can we go on to the next slide? Okay, the big question, your future. So what are your goals that you will accomplish in your future? And this one I want you to think about a lot is what will Stockton be proud of you for? Like, to give you an example, I want to finish my master's, get in my psychology, and then I want to become a counselor, marriage and family therapist. And then so hopefully that gets done in like 2 to 3 years. And then the thing I want Stockton to be proud of me for is like to be a to be a mental health care provider for the community, to like be with Little Manila and like be a therapist or counselor that they can use, because a lot of people don't have that access here with the community. In higher institutions like Kaiser, all those hospitals, it's super expensive, and people who don't have insurance and stuff. So after I get like my licensure, I want to come back, and I hope Stockton will be proud of me for that. So that's kind of like what I want y'all to think about. What are your goals in the future? And how do you think you can give back to the community? Or what at least someone will be super proud of you for? So like, what do you think Stockton would be proud of you for?
I know that when I go to college, I'll be majoring in film and media studies. And I think one big thing on like my emphasis is that I really want to share the stories of the Stockton community. I want to share the stories of Black, Indigenous people of color and people, in the marginalized communities. And I think it's something that we can totally like flesh out our stories, and we're not just people who are on the sidelines. We're not just background characters. And I think that's something Stockton would be proud of me for.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch our first film in theater. Bringing in money, yeah. We got to inject money into the community so we can give them more stuff. Provide them the care that they deserve. So these are all your stories. I want to hear like y'all's stories. Like what are some of your goals? Like what's your career goals that you want to go for? Could be a goal for tomorrow, could be a goal 5 years. What goals do you have?
Nice.
So we do have 5 minutes, and then so we'll give them 10 minutes to do it.
Yeah.
Sophia says, my goals are to get my degree and live a simple yet fulfilling community-oriented life. Honestly, don't know what Stockton will be proud of me for, but hopefully my strengths can make a contribution. I'll be a healthcare professional, so I'll find a way to give back. Yeah, and honestly, if you fulfill your goal and like accomplish that of being a healthcare professional, anyone would be proud of you for that. So we can't wait to see you fulfill that. And Stockton will be super proud of you. Like 209 will have your back. Thank y'all for sharing. I might go back to grad school and honestly want to live somewhere outside of Stockton with my friends for my later 20s, but I want to come back and raise my family here in my 30s. I want my children to be from Stockton, like carry out that legacy.
Yes.
Yeah, snaps to that. Right.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead. No, you go.
you can go. I was just reading this.
I think I would say like, I think it's super cool to be the goal of coming back and like actually wanting to help out the community. Some people say it's like, oh, like for instance, like some rappers from Compton say like, we're trying to work to get out of there.
Yeah.
And like, not necessarily like, they'll help in certain ways, but then they don't want to come back
Yeah.
and be part of that. So like, I think there's a lot of ways that we can help the community in the capacity we can. And so it shouldn't be like a crowd mentality, like we should stay here and then that's it. It's good to like go out and adventure. I think me going to Davis and like learning and meeting so many new people opened that horizon for me to come back
Yeah.
and like actually know what I want to do and like find my way. I plan to go in criminal. There's so many.
I know.
I wish we had more time to talk with you all. So kind of sad that we're not able to like fully flesh out the conversation with each and every one of you. But we're glad that y'all are thinking about these things
I know.
and like recognizing and have that mindfulness. Elevate and empower people who are changing our community. Publish my book with a press that's accessible to people and rebuild the county museums so that's an experience, economic asset, and you contribute to local social change. So you're gonna write your book and you're gonna be able to instill that into the community and put that back in. If you have a book signing, I want to get that book. Bringing the Larry musical to Stockton. The chat's going off now, so like we have to keep scrolling back.
I know.
McKinley Park, Leon Park. Lucky to be close to achieving these things in my life. Honestly, there's been so much like being from like the OG group in Healing Crusoe and like being away for a couple of years and seeing how much like the group has grown over the 3 years. And like it makes me so proud that I was part of that at the beginning and like just the ideas, but now there's been so many ideas that have been put into fruition. So it's possible, like even in a 2 to 3 year span, like it's super possible.
I know, me and him were talking about that a few days ago. He was like, oh yeah, I was like there for the beginning of it all. And I was like, what?
Do you have any other things that you want to say before we move on to the last thing?
Excited.
Okay. So thank y'all. I wish we had more time to talk over stuff and read everyone's stuff, but just know that someone in the chat's reading your things and we're really proud of you for being able to share that. Yeah, so next one.
So just to end off the workshop, kind of as like a cool down, we're gonna have you guys do an I am poem. And it's pretty self-explanatory if you read it, but it's basically just, you know, it's like a poem with affirmative words, just so, you know, just like about yourself. But we're gonna put a link in the chat of a Google Doc that you guys can go and write your I am poems on, if you feel comfortable to do so.
Yeah, so you can either take a paper and like write this on here, but we're gonna share this link so y'all can maybe put it in. You can either write your name next to it or you can put it in honestly, but we'd love to like see these I am poems.
Yeah, and we have like tables in there where you can write them out. So let me know if that link works for you guys.
And then maybe add, since it's 13, add like, make sure there's 10 boxes or like.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9.
Yeah, so we're gonna try to add as many boxes as we can for y'all. So take up one spot and then you could just write into it. And then we're gonna take this opportunity while y'all are writing to write out some stuff to read what y'all were saying in the chat.
Yeah.
So this is technically the end of our workshop, so we're at the cool down. Just want to say we appreciate you all for joining us and like answering those questions. We loved hearing all the stories that you said. Yeah, you can share music. And then probably keep it lower and then we'll try to like read out some stuff too. Let's see. I plan to go into criminal law and help appeal some wrongly accused incarcerated folks and also study psychology. Love that. You know, there's still people in prison that are on marijuana charges, and marijuana has been legal for like what, 2-3 years now. And so there's just so much stuff going on. And don't get me wrong, my dad works in law enforcement, so I have huge respect for it, but there's still a lot of things that need to be like addressed, and like there still needs to be justice within those people that are wrong. Let's see what else there was.
I read those.
Keep pouring out. Oh, can you keep sharing the thing so they can read out so they can keep looking at the template?
Thank you, wonderful presentation. Also, thank you, LMR always.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we still have about, when is it?
10
minutes.
minutes.
So we have about 10 minutes for y'all to work on that. And also, if y'all want to speak out here and like talk about some of your story. So we went through some mental health stuff, some ethnic identity stuff, and we went through past, present, future. And honestly, that's all part of your stories. So if you feel like you've learned a lot of stuff, did you all like want to share, like either in the chat or like whichever way you want to? We'd love to hear it. New message? Okay, you put it in the chat.
Nice.
Oh, people are starting to raise them in, brother and son. Cool.
Yeah.
Did we hear it?
Oh,
I'm not sure.
I don't hear it.
I don't think we hear it this way.
Should I turn it up?
Yeah, we could.
Oh, it's already a back. I don't hear anything.
Can y'all say in the chat if you can hear the music that Hannah's sharing?
Yeah.
I think it might be messed up with the breakdown. That's probably why. I'm like in my room.
I can't hear any music.
Okay, it's okay.
That's okay.
Was there anything that you wanted to add to like any of the topics?
Just read more, because there was a lot that I didn't get to read.
Yeah, let's see.
Let's see.
Ethan said, I want to someday become and to be an engineer who can help rebuild and bring life back into the downtown Stockton.
Gion's Deli and LMR Center. Healing and Peace Come at Home. Don Rafa's and Central Methodist Churches.
Yeah. So everyone has so many different answers, and like that's like kind of the point. It's like everyone has their unique story.
Yeah.
One of my favorites downtown. Like anywhere on Pacific Avenue, sometimes I'd be chilling at UOP with the nature and those pillars. I don't know if everyone knows this, but at UOP, the first Indiana Jones movie, they filmed a scene in the library.
Really?
Yeah. And UOP is actually like the oldest, like, I don't know if it's the nation, but I know it's the oldest college in California. So that's a little film history for you at UOP.
The more you know, you learn something new every day.
I don't know why I know that, but I just do.
Wow. I feel like someone told me that before, but I don't.
Yeah, if you go to the library, like I'm sure, look at the beginning, like maybe 10-15 minutes of the movie, and it's the one where he's lecturing. That's the scene that was filmed at UOP.
Really? Oh.
Oh, the music's working now. Sharing what? Just the screen. Yeah.
It's good.
At the hop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing. Hope to read your book. Okay, so we have about 4 minutes left to cool down, and then we're gonna go back into the main room. But if there's any like questions, like any other stuff that you want to discuss, all the chat's open, and we'd love to.
I know, this is one of my favorite songs.
Then y'all can either save the doc or like copy paste your answer. Like,
Yeah. Yes, it is. That's because he's on tour, right?
right?
I'm pretty sure he is. One of my friends went to his concert. What song was just playing? I think it's All About Love by Grant Perez. Try looking that up. I'm not sure if that's like the correct song title name. I shall add it to the list.
Yeah, so we're gonna take, I believe all of them are unanimous, so we're gonna take a group photo, whether you wanna like show your camera or just have your name, either way, we do it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take a group photo really quick, and then we're gonna read out some of the IM just
Yeah.
to like appreciate this. I believe we can.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so we have the screen. Are you gonna screenshot it?
Oh, yeah, I think it is.
All right, we're gonna give window of opportunity for people to turn on their cameras. Let's do 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so are y'all ready for the photo?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. All right, a couple more people are filing in. Run from this. All good. Okay.
Francis,
Brandon, you want to come on? Okay, we'll do another window opportunity. We'll do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. And then another screen. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank y'all so much. So if y'all want to stick around, we're gonna read some of the IM poems for the last couple minutes that were in the breakout room.
Yeah. Did you want to read the first one?
Yeah. So let's see. I am a brother and son. I understand my purpose and goals. I say yay in challenges. I dream from a bright and happy future. I try to work hard and stay true with who I am. I hope to one day have a wonderful and happy family. I am a brother and son. That's awesome. You're good. Don't worry.
Oh, I thought you were answering first.
I know you're good. And then do you want to read?
Happy face. I am grateful and transformational. I understand everything is connected. I say love is an action. It is disciplined and intentional. I dream of fulfillment, and I know that includes the collective highest good. I try to move with love, even if it looks uncomfortable. I hope to focus my energy what is best for me in this moment. I am grateful and transformational.
Mhm.
I don't think the
And then which one do you want to do?
you can do the next one.
Okay, we'll read 2 more because I think it's finishing up. I am ocean and earth. I understand the space between bone and sea. I say in the end, we will all be reduced to the same thing. I dream we will know this truth of spirit and matter. I try to remind myself when life feels permanent. I hope for a life I wouldn't mind repeating. I am ocean and earth.
And then, oh yeah. This is the last poem that we'll be reading. I am patient and loving. I understand myself and motivations. I say you too when a cashier gives me a receipt. I dream of whimsical, bright, and happy living. I try to be positive all the time. I hope for time to slow down and give me a break. I am patient and loving.
Thank y'all for writing.
Thank you guys for writing and sharing those.
Help.
Snaps.
Okay.
Let's give it up for Ruby and Karen.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you so much for joining us today in this workshop. I really appreciate all of you guys sharing your stories and just, being active in the chat. So
Yeah, appreciate it. Hope y'all fulfill your goals and
Yeah.
hope we were able to help you know your history and know your story.
yay. Thank you guys. We'll see you guys back in the main room.
Yeah.
Bye.
Hi.
Bye.
I hope you all were able to look at your stories and know them a little better.
So good, thank
Why
you.
Ruby's on there?
Hi. Thank you
Thank you.
so much for joining, Ethan.
Thank you. Yay. I think we can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let us speak. All right, so let's go over our agenda. So today we'll be doing our introduction, community discussion, what the problem is, how we can make change, and we will also be providing some helpful citations and resources for all of you today. So let me close. So hello, everyone. We are Hilda and Marilee, the facilitators for today's workshop. And today we're going to be speaking about the struggles that students of color face. And this also includes the first generation college students. And this is because of the lack of resources that a lot of students have and a support system. All right, so together we're going to openly discuss how we can redefine this narrative and encourage others to continue pursuing a higher education. So let's begin with our icebreaker, passing on to Marilee.
So yes, let's begin with our icebreaker to get to know a little bit about everybody. So what is your go-to way of de-stressing, the school-wise, just life-wise? What's the first thing that comes to mind that gets you just to calm down and relax? And if you guys want to write it in the chat or even turn on your cameras and like raise your hand.
All right, so I could start personally. Crochet is really de-stressing hobby. And let's see what everyone else has to say. Or do you want to?
I'll tell you mine. Mine would probably be listening to music as well, as some people have said in the chat already. Like just almost it would be more so within the realm of like hip hop or even some rock, things like that, just to help get that adrenaline out when you're stressed.
Yes, music is amazing. So now let's look at our responses. Lizette says watching shows. What's your favorite show? And of course, listening to music from Jenny, going on walks, reading a good book. Do you have any recommendations? Hoop sessions, amazing. Playing video games. What's your favorite game? Oh, somebody also loves to crochet. Oh, that's amazing. How long?
Your go-to crochet thing to do?
Ooh, definitely. All right, Tiara says walking, reading, or cycling. Ooh, very, very amazing. Gardening from Sarai.
What plants are you gardening? Are you gardening for the summer? Are you gardening for the winter?
Yes. Journaling from Jasmine, amazing. Taking a nap. I'm sure we all love that. And listening to music, of course, journaling and crochet. A lot of crochet buddies here. Listening to music, and I recommend tomorrow and tomorrow. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. All right, that's amazing. Great to see some people are, well, a lot of us have great ways of distressing and propagation. Amazing. All right, so let's move on to our next slide.
Okay. So now I'm going to open up to you guys. So here are some questions. Who here is still in high school? Who
here has graduated high school and are possibly going on to the workforce or even continuing into college? And then does anybody here anybody here already finished with college and has a degree or a certificate in something?
Yes, we would like to know,
Yes.
what is your education level? I know we have some high school students here. Very amazing to see. First generation grad and current master's student. Oh,
I applaud
that's
you. Those
amazing.
masters take quite a
Mhm.
bit.
It's a lot of effort there. Just graduated. Congratulations. College grad. Ooh. Going back to Delta soon.
Okay,
Amazing.
returning students, I
Yes.
understand. I'm a returning student too.
It's amazing. Of course, pursuing higher education, which is the goal of this presentation as
Yes.
well. Any more responses? Ooh, bachelor's degree and a doctorate's degree in dentistry, and also went to Edison Gulwai.
Vikings, yeah.
Amazing. A doctorate's degree, that's crazy. That's really hard work and dedication right there. Completing high school at adult school, of course.
Good.
Yeah, it's never
always
too
good to
late.
get the certificate, even if it takes a
Mhm.
little longer.
Shout out to my mom, she got her GED.
Oh, nice.
Of course, amazing responses. All right, so let's move on to our next slide.
Mhm. So now I gotta ask, besides going already in college, what are you guys goals towards? Like, are you guys just getting that degree? Are you guys already aspiring to start a business? Are you getting it for other personal reasons? And if you want to type those responses.
Yes, definitely. It's like, since some of us have graduated already, are you planning on going to college? Are you planning to go straight to the work area? And some people who already have degrees, are you planning on pursuing a higher degree? Of course. All right, so a response from Sage to become an ethnic study teacher.
Nice.
Inspirational, amazing. We love our teachers.
Yes.
Lizette says, want to work for a company as part of a marketing graphic design team. That's amazing. A lot of creativity there as well.
Yes.
Goal is to serve the South Stockton community. Amazing. We need all the help we can get, and together as a community, you have to work together to strengthen our unity and to continue pursuing higher education.
Yes.
Higher education, yes. Ooh, some-
Healthcare, what form of healthcare?
Mhm.
The main healthcare is like front desk, or do you want to go into the operating room?
Ooh,
Or
straight into the operating
nursing,
room.
yeah. There's plenty of people who need it for doctors and nurses. Okay.
Musician, amazing. I want to get a Juris Doctor degree at some point. Pretty
Okay.
cool. So hopefully get into college.
Yeah.
Tiara
Public
says,
service. Oh, nice.
and nonprofit work. That's amazing.
Always need more people.
Mhm.
Anybody else want to write it there?
What's your end goal, Marilu?
My end goal? Oh, my end goal would probably be being an art teacher here.
Art teacher?
Yeah, being an
Ooh.
art teacher here in Stockton, if I can, at one of the high schools.
That's amazing. Any more responses? It's great to see that a lot of you do have plans. And of course, it's okay to not have plans yet. A lot of goals
right
take
now-
time.
Right now, everybody's finding themselves, especially during
Definitely.
this times and then these ages. Like, you could start one project and one path that you're thinking about, but it could completely change in a matter of just a couple of days to minutes.
Mhm. So yeah, it's great to see a lot of us want to become teachers. They want to move on to graphics designs team. It's amazing. A lot of people also want to continue serving our Stockton community.
Yes.
All right, so let's move on to the next slide. Thank you for your responses.
Yes.
All right, so let's begin with what is the problem? So around 1/4 of Stockton has not completed high school, and a portion of that percentage has received little to no schooling at all. And while we do see that 30% of Stockton has graduated from high school or a GED, most only pursue some college and then stop in an associate's degree. So as you can see by this chart, we do have like around 30% people high school or GED, 30% have some college or associate's degree, 18% have a bachelor's degree or higher, and then 16.4 less than high school, and then another smaller percentage, which includes no schooling at all. So now we're going to discuss some analytic rates here. So while we do see that when students reach college, a large portion of them do not complete their 4-year studies. As seen by the charts provided, community colleges such as Delta have around a percentage of 79.4 who do not complete college. And as part of University of the Pacific, 72.1% also do not graduate. And these are quite recent percentages from this year, I believe. So going more in depth with these analytics, more than half of those who do not graduate decide to drop out. So as you can see by this chart, 66.2% of students dropped out of Delta College, and in University of Pacific, 63.9%. Oh. Yes, no, 34.6% also dropped out of college in University of Pacific. And these are concerning rates. And I know Marilee could definitely talk about Delta College.
Yes, Delta College, my own experience going right now and returning, I could very much see the dropout rates. When you initially start, it is something you are experiencing first time, and a lot of people don't know just how intense some of the classes are, especially if you're an undecided major, because a lot of the GE classes do get filled up and they're very big. So a lot of people don't know just how intense or how frequent they actually get into the classes, and that, in a sense, a lot of personal reasons and family life, and as well as in school life, will end up deciding to drop out during that first semester as well the first year in here at Delta, or there at Delta, and in the University of Pacific, which people still very don't increase their rates of staying.
All right, definitely some insight from Marilee. So, all right, moving on to the next slide. So let's continue into another open discussion.
Okay, so for this open discussion, we want you guys to think of some reasons why youth has dropped out of college, as some examples I already given, and then what are some reasons why youth do not want to continue on to higher education after high school. And you guys want to write that out in the chat.
Definitely feel free to type that in the chat or unmute. We would love to hear you in person as well.
Give everybody a couple minutes. Yes, that is one of them, especially.
Yes, RHD says high costs, and we know that those costs have been rising,
Yes,
especially for college tuition in many places.
ooh, mental health issues as well. Those have increased substantially in the newer generations as well.
Yes, and of course, unaffordability, mental health issues definitely play a strong impact on that. Sage says, youth struggle reaching out for help and resources. That is
Yes.
very true.
And I will touch upon that later on, because that is something that commonly happens.
Then Demery says, of course, a lack of support, which was also the main issue that we wanted to discuss. And Kylie says,
Yes, not enough resources. A lot of people don't know about the resources as well. which
that's
we'll
true.
pick up on.
Yes.
Oh, we gotta.
One second. Oh, okay. Liza has a great response. So I think a lot of this has to do with how their high school experience has changed their mind shape on pursuing higher education, especially in Stockton, low invested areas. The education state is troubling. That is a great response and very true. Some people do have negative experiences in high school, and a lot of people don't receive the resources that they need. Removing our background really quick. Oops. We're not moving on just yet, or we still have more responses. All right, so yes, definitely institutional racism of the university that also plays a huge part in it. And we've seen from redlining previously taught by the previous workshop definitely plays a part. Jenny says, when I first dropped out, it was because, oops. It was because I was forced into the low rung of the social ladder and that I wouldn't make it out. However, it's amazing that you unlearned that. So of course, we're also excited that you're ready to come back. It's great. Another response, being weeded out in competitive classes and coursework, definitely.
Most of
Then response from Sarah E. My brother dropped out and he says that he just didn't feel like he was learning a lot. And it was also only a few select teachers that actually cared, or at least he thought that. Definitely. Another response, thank you so much for the responses. It's great to see that you guys are interacting with a lot with us today. So another response, I think that a lot has to do with, oh yes, yeah, a lot high school experience has shaped their mindset. And especially in low invested areas such as South Stockton. So a lot of great responses here. So we definitely see a connection here. So there's a lot of
more investment as to like the schooling as well as the resourcing and the budgeting. That's a big role that has been playing into everything that has conspired to from like the 2008 Great Recession to now as well. So I like all these responses. We'll for sure be explaining a lot more.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we definitely see also mental health, and then some people not feeling motivated enough. And this can be due to like people who surround them. And of course, the lack of resources. And oh yes, I missed this response, needing to work. As we see increasing college tuition, increasing rent, everything's increasing, and people have to decide whether to pursue an education or to work and to be able to pay off these high fees, definitely.
Responding back to you, JR, I will for sure say that it has most definitely starts with primary and secondary level of school levels, especially here in Stockton, where a lot of the public school system is not well funded or budgeted.
All right, so more responses, amazing. Feeling like I need to support family financially and hard to do both. Definitely a really strong person for doing that. Of course, it's a very hard decision.
Yes.
But family is important and we do understand that.
Yes. And
ooh, apartment hunting. Oh, I know about
is
that.
very hard right now, especially because of the increased rates that have gone up. It is hard. A lot of people have decided now to go back with living with their families, even though it's not something necessarily mentally healthy if they're not in a good situation, if they're trying to become dependent and find their places in their paths.
Definitely. And of course, another response, scared that I'll have no home while going to college far from Stockton. That was definitely an issue that we were going to discuss. Definitely moving to another place is difficult as well. And also knowing that other places have way higher rent, higher tuition, and it's definitely difficult.
Yes.
So thank you so much for all of your responses. I think it's time to move on to our next slide.
Mhm. Okay, so some effects that, like how you guys were all responding, yes, a lot of it comes back to that budgeting, all that money sourcing that happened, but I want to talk about where it kind of all started, like going back to the redlining. A lot of the disinvestment from the 1960s, 70s, from that time increased all these loans and lack of resources already. And then with the recession of 2008, it hit that bottom where all this budgeting issues decreased a lot in the public school system. And a lot of the schools had to resort to raising tuitions, like by fundraising or by other means within the budget that they had already risked. So a lot of the schools lost they lost all their music programs, their art programs, anything that wasn't majorly invested in public school systems. A lot of them even lost a good portion of students themselves because all the disinvestment made people have to drop out or even not pursue their places. They were lost, they were homeless. A lot of disemployment happened during this time, and even more so, a lot of the community was limited as to like where they could go or how to contribute they were starting to contribute to the higher poverty rates that increased even now, especially like in this time where there's a lot of homeless people here in Stockton because of the higher rents, because of the disinvestment in South Stockton, and all these new schools that have risen from this, because a lot of people during the 2008 also started pulling out after the major hit of it. Like a lot of smaller elementary schools and like STEM-based schools started opening up. Even downtown Stockton has a couple that have recently opened up within that time frame.
And also we've seen that the lack of sufficient funding, which is of course due to redlining, plays a huge portion on it. Some red areas are not going to get the same funding as areas in the blue or the green. And of course, past segregation within schools. And this also includes past segregation within communities and limited community events. And then also contributions to high poverty rates.
So you want to show the map as to like some of the schools that are somewhat scattered in place here that have been introduced. Like Bear Creek is within that more invested, but sometimes like reputations and things like that too. As you can see, Edison has had a bad reputation. And then the major high schools are all within the red zones that were in the previous picture map, is showing just how much those schools have a lot of segregation and limitation to their minorities. Like Franklin, Edison are all mainly BIPOC communities going there. Very few times you will see a mixture of different ethnicities. And in this map, you can see like the schools are scattered too, and there's only a couple that are like within close proximity, like they're mainly the elementary schools or like some of the middle schools. And you can see like all the more charter schools and private schools are up north within Stockton. And then let's see, there was a question in the chat, so what are some ways LMR is working on changing redlining? Ooh, that's a very good question. You want to say one first?
All right, so something that I would like to talk about would be a lot of tree planting that has been going on. I know Little Manila and their forestry team has been planting trees all around the community, which is amazing. And you can recognize them by seeing newly planted trees that have a bunch of wood covering it. And that's how you know it's Little Manila.
Yes, and then another program that Little Manila has done is the Little Manila School After School program that takes place at Edison, where it helps all these students find somewhere to be instead of being without anything in the afternoons, and just helps them guide more cultural experiences as well as learning their own culture if so they're going to.
Yes, the Little Manila After School program hosted at Edison definitely went over a lot of cultural topics, cultural history, and it was a great community unification thing that occurred at that high school. And of course, some other events, things like these, being able to teach to other people is definitely important.
And then this very program that we are part of, the EJ advocates, it has for sure taught us a lot of the community history that we ourselves didn't learn in school, or we came across it by accidentally by other people. And we've learned so much within this about like redlining, all the disinvestments, as well as the history that is within all the different people of color here in Stockton.
And also, we cannot forget, this was mentioned earlier, the Skywatch initiative,
Oh, yes.
which I know a lot of people, I know some people who have decided to get the air quality monitors placed at their house. And these are moved into a website that is able to detect the negative air quality and definitely see like a connection here. Definitely seeing that the 95206 area probably has the worst air quality in Stockton. So things like the Skywatch initiative are very amazing to kind of track how redlining has definitely impacted us. And also, since we have learned a lot from our redlining presentation, we'd love to see some responses from you guys. So what effects or changes have you seen in redlining? So a great response from Amy. LMR has also participated in advocacy at local and state levels, sharing the lasting impacts of redlining, both trying to change things through legislation and giving residents an opportunity to speak truth to power in their own words. I completely forgot to mention that. And this is also seen in our Asthma Advocacy Day that was hosted at the Capitol, which gave a lot of youth members and other community members the opportunity to talk with legislators and talk about the issues that we see in South Stockton, especially those relating to bad air quality and the effects of redlining. Yes. Do you have any more responses, since we did learn a lot from the amazing redlining presentation hosted earlier?
We'll give you guys a couple minutes if anybody wants to respond. I would say, are any of you guys from any of these schools that are in the map, to see if you were part of the elementary schools here or even the high schools?
Oh, and they've been, another response from Amy, thank you so much. And they've been central in abolishing the SAT requirements in California college applications and advocating for statewide ethnic studies requirements. That's amazing. We love the Little Manila team, Little Manila Rising. And yes, and also I've seen in our chart, we could definitely point out where some of the red areas are in Stockton. And I don't know if it's zooming in, but you can see Edison, Weber. A lot of these areas are in the red zones. Well, Pacific, no, is it Pacific? I know UP is somewhere around the green or blue zone, while is it Franklin or Chavez that is
Franklin
in?
and Chavez are within the yellow to red zones as well. And as I had said earlier, a lot of the reputation of all these different communities in those are mainly they get stuck there because a lot of the communities don't know how to reach out and find these resources to get to higher education because of the redlining, because all the resources have not been put into the development to those. Even now, only like a couple years back, Edison High School got a very much remake of their campus because of just how much the school budgeted and found ways to improve the campus. So now it is more so of a larger school with a college layout of the campus. So there's multiple buildings where students transition depending on their schedules.
Definitely a great response from Maddie, and of course, thank you to
Oh, we got a Franklin
Amy.
person here? Okay.
Ooh, I went to McNair, but I went to elementary at Bush near Chavez. Definitely different, especially between LUSD and SUSD.
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
Yes, there, that was another thing. A lot of communities in Stockton are very much scattered because of the school system's layout as to how they choose the schools targeted entry rates. So like for me personally, I was actually supposed to go to Stag High School, but I decided to go to SECA for my first year, like Hilda. Basically, I was introduced to it, and because it wasn't the right fit for me during that time in the year that I went, I actually decided to go to one of the schools down in the south, so it would be Weber Institute. And I was able to graduate there with a much easier time because of some of the resources change. And I was able to find people that would help me graduate with more ease.
Definitely. I know a lot of people actually responded related to that, that it's a struggle having support that will help you in your future educational path. Definitely. And response from JR, I teach at STAG. It's always interesting having conversations with my students when it comes to Lincoln Unified and how that area is not part of SUSD.
Oh, yes. That's
Great response. And then, of course, great to know. And another response, because redlining affects limited community events. What events has LMR hosted to improve this? Ooh, I know. We went to a recent one, which was called the Asian Health and Healing Clinic. And it was an amazing event hosted by a bunch of nonprofits as well. And there was a bunch of giveaways and people offering resources. And also including in those giveaways was things for parents or for babies as well. There were also plushies. And I know they were also giving away a bunch of plants, vegetation food, very amazing, free massages at the event. And I think it's a really great way to show that there's a lot of unity in our community, a lot of people willing to get together and contribute to everyone.
Yes, and let me say this. Schools south of 8 miles are considering Lodi Unified, make it make sense. Oh.
Oh,
So like I said, that mapping system is also very much so included within the redlining. A lot of the school sections have been segregated with that of for Lodi district, certain areas are more so in the north to east side of Stockton. And they consider those, whereas west or northwest is considered unified stuff. And then there's some scatters here and there. So I can understand why it doesn't make sense when it should.
All right, so another response, thank you so much. If not for our guidance counselor at Edison, many of us might not have applied to college or known about scholarships to apply for.
Yes, a lot of people. As personally, I never went to Edison, but I do have a family member working there, and the stories so far have been a lot of students are now understanding what they need to do from all these teachers that are helping them succeed and find paths that they themselves are aspiring to become as well.
Yeah, it's definitely great to see that a lot of people are receiving the guidance that they need to pursue their future goals, which is definitely amazing. All right, so thank you so much for your responses. It's time to move on to our next slide. If it wants to move on. Ooh. Okay, great. All right, so let me move this. All right, so what can we do? So let's go over that. So one of the things we could do is definitely set short-term and long-term goals. These are very useful to getting you ready for your future career path and knowing what you want to focus on. Another thing would be to establish your own community. And that's very important because it's very crucial to have a supportive community around you that can offer you resources and support for your decisions. And definitely sharing new opportunities with the community, especially through social media, which is very useful. One second. All right. And then another would be to design learning experiences together. As a community, it's important to be able to teach each other what we know. And that all comes with being supportive of each other, which is amazing. So now let's go over some community changes. So what we have seen or what we want to see is definitely the growth of educational opportunities on social media, and we've provided some here. So on social media, it's definitely great to see that a lot of people are like posting and helping others with scholarships, college and internship tips, and also large scholarship opportunities. And it's great to see that people are sharing a bunch of these resources.
Yes. And even the internships as well as youth events, as getting people to come out with even their parents or their siblings. Like a lot of social media has been utilized by youth to help other youth and find these different things to do, or even find different sources to use to better themselves and others around them in their community.
Of course, I agree with that. And definitely from personal experience, social media was actually what got me to join LMR as an EJ youth advocate, which is great. And of course, another community change would be to talk about your personal experiences. And this is very important. And we've actually seen that from a lot of you guys today who already are committing to a community change by talking about what you have experienced and what you know. So of course, thank you to everyone who's joined and everyone who's provided responses. You're definitely doing your part by providing your personal experiences. And another community change would be building stronger high schools through community. Of course, community is very important. And also to prioritize flexible learning approaches. People definitely learn differently from other people. Some take longer to learn a certain subject, while some catch on very quickly. So it's important to be very flexible with learning approaches.
Yes, and be open to learning different things, because personally, I have disabilities, so within learning, so for me, having all these different learning styles and flexibility did help. And it could help somebody else. Like some person could need more time on exams and stuff, and they could ask for that. If not, then if they can't learn through visual, they can write it out. Like I said, also, if you're not a visual person, if you're a visual person, you'll have the chance to be more so visual and write out your notes and like doodles and storylines, things like that.
Definitely. And of course, also to add on, prioritizing equity and outreach to ensure that all voices are heard. This definitely contributes to people from the community speaking out and definitely giving a voice to everyone.
And moving on now to some of those resources.
Of course.
So, as I said, I'm a Delta student, so here are some of the resources at Delta that could potentially help you kickstart and make sure that you're financially stable. So one of them is EOPS. It's a community where you get to meet with a counselor strictly for that program, and they help you with your class planning as well as looking up different courses that you will need for, like, if you want to transfer or you're trying to just complete a certificate for a job. CalWorks is another great one. Get the food stamps, have that more so save money mindset when you get it, because it is helpful when you save towards your food and not spend it out. And then another one would be DSPS, Disability Support Programs. Tremendous help. It gives you that time to ask for when you can't go into class, if you have physical disabilities where you can't walk in or you can't talk or hear. They give you the chance to speak with somebody one-on-one in a separate building. And then early college, so that would be another program where they help you plan out when to see a counselor from the different UCs and CSUs as well. And then the empowerment resources for anybody who is also undocumented, and then veterans as well. And then, like I said, the undocumented students, and some more
Definitely.
resources that Hilda has found on the next slide.
Yes, but also to add on, it's great. Marilee knows a lot about these resources, and it's definitely important to be sharing them out because Marilee herself has experience with.
Yes, I
Mhm.
also, within Delta, I was part of Puente, and right now I am part of the Pride Center or Pride Club that was and still is there. So I will, if anybody has questions about that, you can ask me later on when we open discussion.
And yes, clubs are also a great way to promote community building. All right, of course, moving on to our other helpful resources, which our moderator Queen has already pasted into the chat. So of course, we have the California Student Aid Commission offering grants and all of that. IME becas, which offer a lot of scholarships as well. FAFSA,
Yes.
cannot emphasize
Yes,
more to
FAFSA
complete
is
your
such
FAFSA.
an essential thing because it gives you so much more of a starting point where to get your it's such an essential minute.
And definitely, and also College Board, I know I've been using it a lot recently. They offer a bunch of scholarship opportunities, and they also help you get on the right path to certain careers that you want to explore. And then our final slide, citations. We need citations, very important. Don't forget to cite your work
Get
all the
everybody
time.
to know where to go and find even more information, and maybe
Oh, definitely.
come across something that even we hadn't come across because
Mhm.
it might not align with your interests yet. And so if any of these can help, and as well as saying, like, to close it off, would be if you want to find and pursue higher education, I would suggest find a mentor, find somebody that you trust that can give you guidance, that has gone to higher education or has pursued a job career where they enjoy it and they're happy making however much they are, even to this day.
Definitely. And that is a wrap. Thank you everyone for joining us. I know me and Marilee had an amazing time making all of this presentation, and we definitely enjoyed hearing about your own insights. So thank you to everyone who's joined, Yasmin, Amy, Sarai. And of course, it is a wrap. So we do suggest that you go back to the main room. But of course, thank you so much to everyone who's joined. It was amazing to hear
great.
from all of you today.
For the new people who came in, if you have anything you want to put in the chat box to talk about the workshops or one word, how you're feeling right now, don't be shy to put anything in there. We'd love to get to know how you're feeling right now.
Yes, so I believe everybody, yes, Ruby and Cam did slay.
Yes,
they
they
did
did, yeah.
slay. It was awesome. Their graphics on their on their slides were really awesome, and I'm sure the same for Marely and Hilda, and as well as Sukleen's culture of higher education in Stockton workshop as well. So that's awesome.
Feeling blessed.
Yes, the graphics were crazy.
Yeah, the
Go
graphics were
Ruby.
really good.
Yes, blessed, exactly. Thank you. So I think everybody should be back in the room, and so we shall introduce our next order of business. So it's just now time for our second giveaway of the day. I hope everyone is excited for this. And so what we have here is an air purifier. And thank you so much. Shout out to the Dawn program here at Little Manila Rising for donating this. This is brand new. Don't worry, it comes in plastic and it's brand new. And so just a little bit about the Dawn program. Dawn, as you heard earlier, stands for Decreasing Asthma Within Neighborhoods. And so they offer many free services pertaining to people in South Stockton living with asthma, whether they're a family member or if they're themselves living with asthma. They provide free tools and also information, and as well as free home visits to assess asthma triggers within homes as well. So thank you so much to Dawn for this wonderful air purifier. And why this is such an amazing giveaway also is because, yes, your mom may need it. Yes,
Oh, yes, she does.
Why this is so amazing also is that this air purifier actually is able to filter out particles and little microbes that are invisible to the human eye and can kind of cause allergies or even trigger asthma or just kind of disrupt our respiratory system. So this is a great giveaway, and we are going to hand it over to Genevieve to spin our wheel.
Yes, welcome back, Genevieve.
Thank you, Genevieve. Ooh. Let's see.
Ooh,
Elaine Flores.
Would you look at that?
You have won this air purifier.
Oh, and they're
here.
here.
I believe they're here under, yes. Okay, congratulations. They're under a different name, but that's okay. Thank you.
Again, make sure to put your contact information in the chat box, and we will reach back to you as soon as we can. So this can come home to you.
Yes, and
It'll be waiting.
Yes, and we will contact everyone who's winning today after this event. So yes, please look in your emails and everything. Yes, congratulations.
Congratulations.
That's so exciting. Okay, so now, thank you so much, Genevieve, for spinning our
that
wheel for us.
We will see you in the future.
Yes. And congratulations for winning that.
Yeah. So now we're going to move into a special Youth Advocates panel. I'm going to introduce you to two moderators who will be introducing you to your panel. Feel free to ask any questions during this time. It's going to be very fun.
Yes.
So I want to first introduce Kevin, who is currently serving as the Grants and Fiscal Sustainability Director. Hi, Kevin. And then we also have Quincel, who is the current co-director for LMR's Equity in COVID and Health Outcome Program. So big shout out to both of them. We're going to pass it off to them.
Yes, and then our youth advocates today that are going to be on the panel are Bajleen, Hilda, Aldo, Julian, and Rain. So yes, I'm going to pass it off to our moderators now. Thank you, guys.
Yo, thank you so much. Well, thank you, Marissa and Devon, for that kind introduction. You're bringing the energy, and all the sessions are informative. And shout out again to all the hardworking people, from our youth advocates to the staff to technical assistants, to making this happen. So drop your gratitude into the chat. So yeah, we're transitioning. So all those tuning in, magandang gabi and good evening from Stockton, California. Again, thank you for being here. So, oh, sorry, you like see half of my face. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Quincel, and we're your moderators.
So we're really excited to be part of it and to introduce, this next section for our youth advocate panel. So in the spirit of storytelling, we're moving into the section of the program where you'll get to hear from 5 youth advocates sharing their perspectives on storytelling and healing. And to our panelists, I know we're in separate areas of the center, but I do feel that connection. It's there. And we're so glad that you're here and your willingness to share your experience. So before getting to the questions, we want to do a little bit of intro. So I'll hand it off to Quincel to introduce our first panelist.
Yes, so for our first panelist, we have Rain Romeo. Hers. She is a soon-to-be graduate from Delta College with an associate in social justice and psychology, who plans to transfer to a 4-year university to major in social work. She has been working with Little Manila for about 4 years through their dance collective, after-school program, and advocate cohort. Currently, she serves as a youth advocate for Healing Puso, Filipinx uplifting self and others. That's awesome to hear that you want to major in social work for your community, Rain. And I'll pass it back to Kevin.
Oh, thank you, Quincel. And next up is Julian Leal, he, him. Say what's up, Julian. So Julian is a rising freshman at University of the Pacific with a major in Media X. He worked with Changeist, a youth-focused organization in Stockton for 3 years before joining Little Manila Rising as a Dawn youth advocate. Aside from volunteerism, Julian is a volleyball, origami, and SpongeBob enthusiast. And in the spirit of SpongeBob, just wanted to know, what is your favorite SpongeBob line? And for the audience, drop your SpongeBob line if you have a favorite one too. And I know panelists, you also were thinking about this.
I'd say my favorite SpongeBob line is probably when like Squidward, he gets sent to the future and it's like all shiny and he's just like rocking there saying future. I don't know, that sounds like SpongeBob, but
I am here for it. Does anyone else have any like favorite SpongeBob lines? I know we were talking a little bit about that on the panel.
Yeah, I have one. My favorite one is when, is it Plankton? I think he's like ravioli, ravioli, show me the formioli. That was my favorite one.
For
Thank
me,
you.
I had one to add too. I had to wait till I was 18 to get my license because, you know, my parents didn't want to pay to drive as a minor. So for me, one of the lines that really stood out to me was the episode where SpongeBob got his license and he was like, I am now officially licensed.
It's fun. There's a lot of personal stories, a lot of deep connection to SpongeBob. Thank you for indulging in that question. And I'll hand it back to Quincel for our next panelist.
Yes, thank you for that. Mine is Mihoy Minoy. Yeah. And so the next panelist is Hilda Cabello Garcia, she, her. She is a rising senior at Stockton Early College Academy with the goal of studying international law and becoming an immigration lawyer. Currently, this is her first year as an environmental justice youth advocate for Little Manila Rising. She aims to continue advocating for environmental change and effective policies for our community. I really appreciate your passion for advocating for immigrants and environmental justice, Hilda. I'll pass it back to Kevin to introduce our next panel.
Yeah, so next up we have Bajaleen Kalsa, and she's a freshman at the University of the Pacific in Stockton, California. She's majoring in political science with a pre-law minor. Growing up in the Central Valley, Bajaleen learned about the struggles about the water quality affecting the San Joaquin County and neighboring areas. As she immersed herself in the environmental justice path, she realized that there was a void of activism for minority communities in this divide. From this, she has taken inspiration and now is advocating for environmental policies. And I know you're not new to folks seeing you, so welcome again. And honestly, it's great to share space with someone with similar credentials. I graduated with political science and also pre-law minor, and also thanks for your stance for advocating for more responsible environmental policies. You know, we're really feeling the heat right now. So thanks, Bajaleen. And patch it off to Quincel.
Yes, and for our last final panelist is Aldo Guzman Mojedano, he, him. Is a San Joaquin Delta College student majoring in psychology and will be receiving his substance abuse certificate in the fall. Aldo is a huge men's mental health advocate and often challenges the ideologies of machismo by educating others how harmful this can be towards the culture. Aldo plans to transfer to San Diego State University once he graduates and continues to pursue his career in psychology with a minor in social work. I appreciate that you find the passion in addressing toxic masculinity and men's mental health is so important, Aldo. So thank you for being an advocate in that. And I just want to thank everyone for being here today. And we're all here to learn from all our amazing panelists. And we have prepared a few questions for them, but feel free to type in the chat any questions that may come up for our audience. And then later we'll have some space to answer those questions. And now I'll pass it back to Kevin.
I have the honor of asking the first question. So the first question, which is a two-parter. In what ways have you personally experienced the power of storytelling in creating positive change in your community? And how have you actively engaged in storytelling to promote understanding, empathy, and healing within your community?
Thank you for that question. I can start us off. So personally, during my free time, I volunteer at the Wellness Center of San Joaquin, which is a mental health agency here in downtown Stockton. And I just love being in that space. It's inclusive for everyone, regardless of age, background, wealth, etc. And it is such a safe space for me to share my narrative and help other individuals feel a sense of security and reclaim a sense of self. And in this space, you can feel vulnerable without judgment. And it just makes it very easy to share your story and storytell. And you just feel uplifted. We support, lean, and nurture one another, which is why I also really resonate with Healing Puso's motto, which is to heal self is to heal others.
Awesome, Rain. I can go next. So in the summer of 2016, I joined a group of photographers called the Golden Hour Project. Shout out the Golden Hour Project, check them out on Instagram. This group went out and took pictures of Stockton's beauty, hidden gems, and events. We all came together to create a coffee table photo booth, sorry. And then with all the profits that we made, we donated everything to local high schools here in Stockton, California. Being involved in this project gave me a voice and opportunity to be creative. I love Stockton and I was able to show others how beautiful this diverse city really is. Everyone has a story, but not everyone is able to tell it. Little Manila Rising and Healing Puso has given me the tools to continue to be engaged in my community, staying creative, and to be heard.
That's an amazing response, Aldo. I'd also like to add on. So one of my favorite experiences comes from Asthma Advocacy Day at the Capitol, which I was able to attend with a lot of other brave youth advocates and other strong individuals. And what I saw that day was a community of people who are willing to stand up and make their voices heard. And I also had the opportunity to meet with legislators and to be able to express the issues that I have seen in Stockton, especially those relating to bad air quality and the impacts of redlining.
And as Hilda has mentioned, I also got to join Hilda at the Asthma Advocacy Day. I was part of the best group with Kevin, and we got to speak with legislators and really advocate by storytelling all of our stories that how air quality affects us, how different climate change policies affect us to the people that have a seat at the table. So yeah, it was a great experience to go with Hilda and be part of Kevin's group.
Yeah, I agree with Bajleen and Hilda. Advocacy Day was just an amazing event overall. But I'd have to say like community events other than Advocacy Day, like Equity on the Mall or Asian Health and Healing Clinic, whether they be local or in Sacramento, those are probably the events that stick out to me when it comes to the context of storytelling, because I'm bringing myself to this space where there's people from different backgrounds as me, different perspectives. For example, people with asthma. As a youth advocate for Dawn, those are asthma is the main issue I work with, but it's being able to hear people who would otherwise not be heard. And one of the people that stuck out to me was Eliza, a community member with asthma. And on Advocacy Day, we got to speak to staffers of legislators, and they got to share their poem with these people in power. So I thought that was really powerful.
Just want to say thank you very much for your hard work and also for your reflection. And I'll pass it off to Consult for the next question.
So for the next question we have, how do you see the intersection between healing and activism within the context of community storytelling? Do you think storytelling serves as a catalyst for social change?
I can go first for that one. Great question. So I would like to say that community storytelling is a method of healing and activism. The opportunity to share your own knowledge and personal experience is both a moment of empowerment and opportunity to be heard and acknowledged by other community members. Once again, social change can be greater with the power of a community, a united community who is willing to speak out about what they know and what they want to see. And for this reason, social change can be built on storytelling, activism, and healing.
So Hilda's dropping
Yeah.
bars here with all her responses.
Mhm.
Community storytelling was really prominent when you do different activities like the Asian Health and Healing Clinic, the Equity on the Mall, Asthma Advocacy Day, and even with canvassing efforts that ECHO has done, and even tabling efforts, because as a community, we are telling each other what we're going through each day. And with that, once you hear the story, you can advocate for social change, because now you've taken the story and put it in the context of a bigger picture of a united community forefront. So, for this reason, like Hilda mentioned, storytelling, activism, and healing is all interconnected.
Yes, I definitely agree with Hilda and Bajleen how storytelling is interconnected. And with storytelling, it offers you that space to share your narrative. And in doing so, you're able to be emotionally engaged, not with just yourself, but those surrounding you. And that these stories shape generations. Through storytelling and activism, we can heal together to break intergenerational trauma, dismantle stigmas, and advocate for justice. For example, the Little Manila After School program, we try our best to really preserve the Little Manila history rooted here in Stockton, California, especially for the Manongs and the United Farm Workers Movement. And we just want to really respect their story and their legacy.
Awesome response, Rain. So for me, in my eyes, storytelling is what keeps our traditions, values, and memories going on in our society, in our culture, and throughout our generations. Often in activism, the oppressor tells their side of the story and tries to dismantle the other side. But many groups are resilient because of storytelling. Storytelling is so important because it gives us a chance to be vulnerable, emotional, and rewrite the narrative. Without storytelling and healing, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Yeah, thank you all for your answers. Yeah, storytelling is really important, and without it, we wouldn't be able to build that vulnerable and genuine connection. I'll pass it back to Kevin for the next question.
Thank you, Quincel. And so for next question, what healing modalities such as trauma-informed practices, counseling services, art therapy, or mindfulness techniques can be integrated into storytelling to support community members on their healing journeys?
Yeah, so I can go ahead and start us off. There are many mindfulness techniques out there you can practice, but my favorite one to integrate with storytelling is art. So art can be defined in many different ways, whether it's music, theater, painting, live performances, etc. I find this very therapeutic because not only are you in tune with your spiritual side, but also you have a chance to express yourself by telling your story or your community's story. I love to connect my emotions to a specific genre of music. So my favorite type of art would be music. And I like to look back on songs and reflect my feelings during that time.
Thank you. That is so nice. My favorite form of healing is also art therapy because art is a form of expression and an outlet for self-reflection. And Little Manila definitely integrates that into our events, such as Mahal. Mahal is Tagalog for love, and Tagalog is a Filipino language. And Mahal stands for an acronym which means merging art, healing, and love. And in our events for Mahal, that includes local artists to come and perform their songs, such as what Aldo said, listening to other people and their performances, because you can tell a story through lyrics and songs. And small cute things such as making chalk arts on the streets just to uplift other people who may be passing by is also really nice.
Very well spoken, Aldo and Rain. Wouldn't you know, art for me too. But beyond art, just creativity in general, like being able to say, I did that, I made that. It's just very empowering. And as Rain mentioned, chalk art, or it can be something as simple as like doodling in a notebook to help vent, or writing and journaling to help realize what your emotions are going through. And one way I've been able to stay creative with my experiences here at Little Manila Rising is the Photo Voice project that I'm doing with my fellow Dawn youth advocates, where we're going out into the South Stockton community and taking pictures of everything that's going on, such as the preschool under the crosstown freeway or the lack of trees. So being able to see that visual reminder, it's very helpful.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do a quick shout out to Rain. Rain actually sings, so make sure you check all her songs out. our moderators will be putting all of our information in the chat, but I've heard Rain sing and she's amazing and a talented artist. She also takes great pictures, by the way. So if anyone needs Instagram pictures, Rain took amazing pictures, but that's my quick shout out.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all. Thanks for sharing your practices. I hope we can all be inspired here to pursue creative projects in our life. And you gave some really great examples, and we all need a little bit of art to deload. And I'll hand it back to Quincel for more questions.
Yes, thank you for all your responses. They were very illuminating, and I'm sure you inspired someone here in the audience. Now we want to open the floor up to our audience to ask any questions that they may have. So we have one from the chat, if Kevin wants to read it.
All right, so we do have a couple of questions that were shared in the chat. And the first question is, how would you show someone what Little Manila is like when they don't know anything about it? Or how would you explain it? How would you showcase it?
Yeah, I can take that off the bat. So with Little Manila, there's historic tours that our community development team leads that everyone I think should get the chance to go out and experience it. I led the workshop previously and we were talking about how near the Crosstown Freeway and McDonald's, there's the Little Manila historic site on Lafayette Street. So you really get to go down there and see what Little Manila was. You could also, we have stuff at our center. You could do your research. I know we have our the nonprofit organization Little Manila has donated to the Smithsonian like trunks of information and artifacts that you could do research for, but it's really learning just from your community. And we're going to be dropping down links in the chat for you to connect with us, and we would love to connect you with other people. If anyone else wants to add, go ahead.
I can add in. So in addition to Bajleen saying that, I would also talk about the history behind Little Manila and why we do the things we do with preservation of our history. I would also showcase how we are actively involved with the community. For example, we are all youth advocates here, the whole entire panelist, and I'm involved. Aldo and I are involved with Healing Puso, and then there's also EJ, which stands for Environmental Justice. There's Immigration Rights and Protections, Dawn, and I just love how it allows youth this space to be engaged with their community and be able to advocate not just for themselves, but for their legacy and for their people.
This is definitely an amazing response. And I would also like to recognize everything that Little Manila Rising has also done, which of course would be my favorite trips to the Capitol, where community members get to gather and talk about issues that they actively see. And of course, the constant events that they hold, such as the Asian Health and Healing Clinic, which offers a bunch of great resources to everyone in the community as well.
Well, speaking of events, Echo has some coming up, so make sure you follow their Instagram. They hosted a town hall last month, and they'll be hosting a town hall this month. And, Quintel's going to love that shout out, so.
Yes, yes.
Yes, thank you for that shout out, Bajleen. Yeah, our next workshop is actually on July 21st, and there's going to be a free boba bar. So come out to the center. Next question that we have for our panelists is, how is the social life like at Little Manila? And what type of trips do you guys go on? And what are your favorite types of trips that you've gone on?
Can you repeat the first portion? Social trips.
Yes. What is the social life like at Little Manila Rising? And what type of trips have you guys gone on, and what are your favorite ones?
Oh, okay. I can start us off again. So social trips. I would say at Little Manila, we've gotten to go to the Capitol. We've gotten to go at, I think, the Capitol twice. So it was Equity on the Mall and then the Asthma Advocacy Day. But we also got to go to different events. Like the Asian Health and Healing Clinic was at a different center. I know that you guys all went to the Mexican Heritage Center as well. But other than that, we are all really close friends. I think we all have a really great bond with the staff and, the youth advocates within oneself. And there's room for us to grow. And so I would say, like, I've made a lot of long lasting, politician friends or, advocate friends here that are kind of doing the same work, so it doesn't feel as alone. But I would say I love, like Hilda said, I love the trips to the Capitol. It makes me feel powerful, makes me feel like, I got a voice at that place that makes the laws for us. So
Yeah, I just want to add real quickly to Vajleen. When I joined this youth advocate cohort, I felt very like alone because I didn't know anybody. I only knew my supervisors. Shout out Hannah. And throughout the past couple of months, I've created bonds. I've created those memories and those friendships. And a little bit what Vajleen was saying, we're always out. Like every other weekend, we have an event. Every other weekend, we are planning something. So it's a lot of getting together and planning and being here at the center, but as well as like being engaged with our community is what I love too.
I can definitely add on to that. It was amazing response, Aldo, and I could definitely relate to that. I also, when I joined, I do admit I felt like a little bit alone, but as time passed by, you get to meet like so many amazing people. And of course, the events that they'd have every week, it's definitely a way to connect with others. And I know that socially, it's improved my confidence being able to meet with so many different people. And also related to the asthma advocacy days and trips to the Capitol, it's definitely improves my confidence to talk with people like legislators or other community members. It's definitely inspiring.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Hilda. It's been like crazy speaking to these people in power, and it's also been fun going to field trips while we're doing that. But the first thing you'll notice about Little Manila Rising is how friendly everyone is. It's just a very welcoming community. And as Wajdi mentioned, yeah, it's been great to make friends with everyone. You'll meet so many people. And even though it's like this entirely new space, you're not alone.
And to also add to Julian, you are not alone here. And I just love being in an environment where you have such a fiery passion as everyone here. Everyone here is just so passionate and it's very uplifting, empowering. And our events are also very accessible, such as our Zoom meetings online. So in case you can't come in person, you can hop online and Zoom and be with us. For example, one of my favorite events was parole making, which is basically making a star lantern. It's very popular in Filipino tradition. And that really meant a lot to me because growing up, I was born in Parañaque, Philippines, but I moved to the US when I was 4 months old. So I always felt disconnected from my culture. So Little Manila being able to integrate that here in the US really meant a lot to me.
All right, great responses. I know there's so many great questions in the chat, and we have room for one more. And I'm going to take Amy's question here. What do you want to continue learning more about as we think about the future?
That's a loaded question, but I think, there's so much room to grow in this organization and the work we do that and it's funny that we're having this conversation because I spoke with Kevin earlier about something I wanted to learn from him is that like grant writing, right? And in this organization, one great thing about Little Manila is like 10 different nonprofit organizations in one. So there's different programs. And if you go on our website, you can see that we have health equity, we have environmental justice, we have social justice. So I would say personally for me is just explore all avenues. I'm a young college student at the University of the Pacific and I have nothing better to do with my energy. So why not, learn from the people that are doing this work and then continue to, advocate for the legacy my ancestors and other folks have left. So that's what I'll be doing.
And similar to Bachelene, Little Manila offers so many opportunities that you just can't help but explore them all. For example, I've done the youth advocate cohorts for immigration rights and protections, and then environmental justice. Then now with Healing Puso, like as a lifelong learner, they just foster and then nurture you with information that it makes you want to grow. That similar to Bachelene, there's not really something I can pinpoint of what I would really like to learn, since once again, I am a lifelong learner and everything that they teach is very informative and very meaningful.
Anyone else have a crazy thought about what they want to learn?
No.
I would say
If
that we've learned. Sorry, if we're gonna go just real quick, I would say that we've learned a lot so far. So we started this journey like beginning of January or beginning of February, and I've learned a ton. I've learned a ton about my community. I've learned a ton about being active and being engaged and event planning and all that. So I wouldn't, I don't know what else to want to learn more of. I know there's a lot to learn still, but I'm very grateful for this opportunity and for all the mentors here that are able to inspire us to continue leading. So I would say that.
Yeah, shout out to Little Manila staff for constantly like willing to learn from us, but also teaching us, because without them, we wouldn't have these spaces and safe spaces. So, the staff behind the cameras right now that we're going to shout out, amazing people. So I'm passing it back to Quintel or Kevin. I don't know which one it was.
Yes, thank you, Bajleen. I just want to uplift Jay Sanidad in the chat. He had a question, and I'd like to hear from the youth advocates about this. So I noticed that the negative narrative about Stockton among our youth is still persistent, and those feelings are learned by what they see. So what would you tell younger level high school students, 9th to 10th grade, to encourage them to learn about and or get involved with the Stockton community? And maybe even what you would tell your younger selves. This also ties into our wrap-up question, so we can intertwine that.
I would say, so I'm actually not from Stockton, so I can say I've heard a lot about Stockton's negativity. I did go to high school here, so a lot of my friends would tell me, oh, Bajali, make sure you lock your car, don't leave your bag in here. And I grew up in Lathrop, and in Lathrop, you leave your bag in your car, you'll be fine for the most part. So I would say programs like Little Manila After School Program, Reinvent Stockton, all these different nonprofit organizations. I know EMAC has a program that's going on. Changes has also a program. I know Julian was a part of that, and hopefully you can speak more about how that addresses the narrative. But it's a lot about understanding the history of Stockton, kind of like what we talked about in the workshop that I led earlier, is that Stockton has potential, right? And there's people that live here. I think that a lot of high schoolers only know about this narrative because it's passed down from generation to generation, because Stockton has gone through so much generationally. So getting involved with organizations and coming to events. And then, I'm going to pass it off to Julian to kind of speak about his adventures with Changes.
Yeah, as Bajleen mentioned, there's organizations for high schoolers and even middle schoolers to join, such as Changes. And they're similar to the Little Manila Youth Advocate Program in that you join a cohort, whether that be environmental justice, mental health justice. So keep your eye out for programs like that. But I'd also just encourage them to apply for the Youth Advocate Program like we're doing right now, because it's been a lot of unlearning and relearning Stockton's history since my time here. So it's been a great experience in that perspective.
Yeah, to add on what Julian was saying, my biggest thing would be community service. So I started doing community service in high school, and originally I wanted to do the CIP program at UOP, so that's why I got involved in it. And my mindset was very like, I don't want to go out here on my weekend, or there's this event that I have to participate in. But honestly, you got to meet a lot of people. Stockton's very diverse, and honestly, a lot of the people who are hosting the events are really friendly. So that got me, to meet new people outside of my school, to meet older mentors. And something that I would tell my younger self is like Stockton, because I was raised here, Stockton's always going to be home. And no matter all of like the negative stories and ideologies like people have, that's not true. And that's only like, you're not looking at like the bigger picture, and like you're only looking at like the tip of the iceberg, and Stockton has a lot to offer as well.
And I can close us off and pass back to Quintel that, Little Manila, like I said before, Echo's about to have events coming up. If you go on at Echo Little Manila on Instagram, we have the full months, I think, for August and July, or it's a post on there that I haven't checked out, but I have enough to know. Is they have events coming up. So just showing up and learning. You meet so many of us at the center are also online. So that's one way you could start to, get involved with the community. So I'm going to pass it back to Kevin and Quintel.
Well, thank you all. And, sadly, we're approaching the end of the panel portion. So, if you, and also if you had a question that wasn't answered, do not despair. You'll have a chance to connect with our panelists. And so for the final question overall, we have about 1 or 2 minutes left. So what is a quick message you would like to leave the audience, and how can they stay in contact with you?
Thank you. As someone who is passionate about mental health, especially as a healing Puso advocate, and is trying to prioritize yourself more, I would like to share a quote by Layla Delia, and it says, "Self-care is how you take your power back." And I wanted to share this quote to remind you all that self-healing is essential to growth. And I say this with love. This is your sign to stop compromising your own boundaries, learn to decompress, and give yourself recognition. Please do not downplay or belittle yourselves. You guys are all amazing.
Yeah, I'll end it off with saying that I hope each and every one of you can find a supportive community, just as I found Little Manila Rising, to help motivate your interest. But even as we pursue these passions, it can be easy to forget to take care of ourselves. So I just want to remind you to drink your water, take breaks, and if you ever feel like you need to reach out to someone, you have a community for you.
I could definitely add on, it's important to stay resilient and to always maintain a positive attitude in life. Be ready to embrace both failures and success, and always be ready to grow.
Yeah, and the last thing that I want to leave off with everybody is mental health is real, and it can be very complicated with those without any knowledge. So I suggest you keep tuning into these spaces, you seek professional advice, and you continue to educate yourselves on various topics. Let's go ahead and break the generational curses, the habits, and those negative ideologies. Our parents and grandparents tried their best with what little they had, but if we invest in our youth, and we can give the next generation a better future. So I would also say continue to volunteer in your community, go to local events, support local businesses, and that's how you get to know like the best parts of Stockton.
And finally, me. So I would like to leave you with a message of inspiration and engagement in this fast-paced world filled with both challenges and with hardship. I encourage you to pursue your dreams, embrace curiosity, and cultivate a love for lifelong learning, as Rain has mentioned. Remember that every setback can be a stepping stone to success, and every small act of kindness can make a big difference in someone's life. Please feel free to reach out to me if you ever want to connect. And I know all of our youth advocates can't wait to connect with you too. And I know our moderators will be putting all of our information in the chat. So passing it back to you, Quincel.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us today for our amazing panel. We love being in space with all of you to learn, grow, and reflect and talk about the power of storytelling. And so you could further reach our panelists at the contacts that will be dropping in the chat. And yeah, thank you again, everybody. And I'll pass it back over to our MCs to close out today's conference.
Thank you so much, panelists, and thank you so much, Kevin and Quincel. Wow, thank you guys so much. Those answers were amazing, and I learned a lot. And yeah, honestly, gonna tear up because hearing those uplifting messages.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Very uplifting.
And so just give me one moment.
We're gonna share our screen
Yes.
back to go further with the event.
Yes. Thank you. So yeah.
So yeah, we have some closing acknowledgements. I know we're getting closer to the event ending, and I just had a couple of things I want to touch up upon. So I know you may have learned from the youth panel like why our advocates program is so important. And it's important because it gives opportunity to our youth, and you get to gain knowledge and experiences that some people who have lived here forever have never even done. So it's just really cool, and you get to know about your culture and things like that. And culture is just filled with rich histories, with each having their own similar experiences and stories. Your culture roots are important because it's your pride, your community, and your connection. So yeah, I just wanted to share some few words with you guys. But now we're going to move on to our third giveaway. I'm going to pass it back off to Marissa.
So we have our third giveaway, which is this beautiful, beautiful Polaroid camera. I think it's in the color teal.
Yes.
And so big shout out and a thank you goes to Healing Puso for this gift. And a little bit about Healing Puso. Puso means heart in Tagalog, and it actually is an acronym for Healing Filipinx, Uplifting Self and Others. So thank you so much to Healing Puso for this wonderful giveaway. And so we're gonna give it to Genevieve to spin our wheel.
Oh, congratulations. I want to say Lori.
Yes.
I hope that is the right pronunciation. Congratulations. Are you here with us right now in this moment? Give us.
Yes, she's here.
Oh, she's here.
Yay, congratulations to Lori.
Yes, Lori. Okay, this will be coming
Polaroid,
shortly.
yes.
So just for all of our 3 winners today, make sure to put your contact information, direct message one of us, put it in the chat box, anything, so we can contact you after this event and give you guys your amazing prizes. Congratulations, Lori.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. And so, yes, contact information after the event. And so right now, we're gonna take a second to introduce our event survey. So please feel free to scan this on your phones with your camera, and feel free to take the survey now or do it in just a little bit. We still have couple things left. And also please do connect with us on Instagram at LM Advocates. Yeah, so we'll just give a few seconds for that. And if you don't have time to do it right now, it'll also be at the end of the event when we are closing out, And then just one thing from our chat also is that we will be contacting you via email for the survey.
Yes, via email.
Yes, we'll follow up via email with us.
We're gonna give it a few seconds. I hope you guys have been enjoying this event all together. I hope you guys have been having a great time. Maybe put one word about how you're feeling right now. Yeah, we're getting closer to the end of the event, which makes me kind of sad. We've been having so much fun. I hope you guys are having as much fun as we are.
Yeah, and then, okay, so we're gonna move on to the next thing, but just another reminder, the survey will be back.
Yes, won't see the last of it.
So we just want to give a big shout out and thank yous to all our presenters today, as well as all of the workshops that went on today, as well as the panel. But I also want to highlight our marketing and outreach team and our chat support and tech and logistics team. These are youth advocates of this year who have been doing this. So thank you so much to marketing outreach for getting the word out there about this event. Thank you to Bajleen, Arshdeep, Julian, Kylie, Lizette, Ethan, and Sukaleen, thank you guys so much, as well as our chat support and tech and logistics who made today run so smoothly, who are behind the scenes from beginning to the end, everybody, Genevieve, Charlene, and Ethan. Thank you guys so much. So
Thank you guys.
Woo. And then
And we also have some thank you to all of our amazing leads who have been helping us throughout this whole journey. For marketing and outreach, we have Haley and Angie who have been helping us out so much. And the MCs have been helping us out, Jazzy and Deja. Shout out to them. For workshops, we have Carice, who has been obviously helping us so much. And for our Youth Advocates panel, we have Quincel and Kevin, who you guys got to meet earlier. And for Tech and Logistics, we have Bianette and Hannah, who have been organized throughout this whole thing. So thank you to all of the leads. We seriously could not have done it without you guys and without our Youth Advocates. Thank you guys so much.
And we also want to give a very, very, a big shout out and a lot of gratitude and thank you to Narong, who has been setting up all these beautiful cameras and the sound system that we're actually using, these little mics. He has set it all up for us, so thank you so much to Narong. And then also, these shirts that we're wearing were designed by one of our own youth advocates this year. So if you look at the back, it was designed by Kylie. If you want to say, hey, Kylie, to come.
One of our youth advocates did an amazing job.
So thank you so much to Kylie for these amazing shirts as well.
Yes.
And so, yes, now it is time for our group photo. And so I think I will stop sharing so then everybody can be seen, I believe.
Yeah, so feel free to turn on your camera and join us in this group photo. It's gonna be a lot of fun. If you don't want to turn your camera on, that's completely fine. We all understand. But if you do, see those faces, and we're gonna take a group picture.
Beautiful faces, please. And also, please feel free to leave your camera on after this as well. We're gonna, yay! Everyone looks amazing. Everyone's beautiful. Hello.
Hi, everyone. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah.
I have to do both screens, so be patient. All right. Okay, we're doing the first slide, the first set of pictures. Hold on, wait. Ready?
Okay.
1, 2, everyone smile. Lovely. Okay, and then I have to do the next slide.
Ooh, yay.
So another one. Everyone smile.
Cheese.
Oh no, we're not. Okay, 1. Cute. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you, everyone.
you guys,
and
everyone,
please
so
feel free to
much.
stay on the camera. We have one last thing. So sorry.
Yes.
One more surprise.
We have one last thing that involves your camera being turned on if you feel comfortable with that. So I'm going to pass it back off to Marissa.
Thank you, Devon. Yes, so we're going to end out today's session with a tradition called Isang Bagsak, which is the unity clap. And what Isang Bagsak means is that when one falls, we all fall. When one rises, we all rise. And so a little history about this tradition is that in the 1960s, there was something called the United Farm Workers Strike, and that is where Mexican and Filipino farm workers were working together to fight together for better wages and better working conditions that were not happening around them. And so this was also used in the anti-Marcos movement. And so I'll explain how it starts first, and then I invite everyone to turn on their cameras and unmute themselves as well to join in, to join us in this. So it'll start with our hands on our hearts, kind of just feeling us individually and in our community as well. And then we'll start with a slow clap, and then we'll cheer and start to get faster and faster and faster, and then we will shout Isang Bagsak and do one large clap all together, the unity clap. And I think there's something in the chat as well about Isang Bagsak, which thank you so much. Yes, unity clap began during UFW, yes, and it was solely from the Marcos movement. Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that. So yes, we're gonna start it. So please feel free to be on the camera and unmute yourself, and we will begin. So start with your hand on your heart, and then we'll start to slow clap. And it'll get faster a little bit. Woo! And we say, Isang Bagsak. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Yeah, so then, thank you.
So now, here's the event survey again. If you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, or just anything that could help us out for next year's event, here's the time to do so.
We appreciate everyone taking their time out of their day, out of their summer to come join us, and we appreciate all your support. So thank you, everybody who was involved in this, and for all of you out there, all of your families and all the youth. So thank you.
Yes, thank you guys for being here. I hope you guys had a great time.
And have a great rest of your day.
Yes.
And we, woo!
Bye, guys.
And we'll play some. Woo! Yay!